Retorted out to the woods. The history books they tell of their defeat in 45. They all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. They say the prisoner of Spandau was a symbol of defeat. Whilst Hess remained in prison, then the fascists they would beat. So the promise of an Aryan world would never materialize. So why did they all come out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died? The world is riddled with maggots. The maggots are getting fat. They're making a tasty meal of all the bosses and bureaucrats. They're taking over the boardrooms and they're fat and full of pride. And they all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. So if you meet with these historians, I'll tell you what to say. Tell them that the Nazis never really went away. They're out there burning houses down and peddling racist lies. And we'll never rest again until every Nazi dies.
Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. The invasion had begun. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. But I feel my time has come. And if I die here for the resistance, oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. And if I die here for the resistance, you must lay me in my grave among the flowers upon the mountain. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Among the flowers upon the mountain, let me rest among the brave. Someday the people will pick the flowers. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Someday the people will pick the flowers and they will remember my name. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of our resistance and those who died for liberty.
Come all of you good workers, good news to you I'll tell of how the good old Union has come in here to dwell.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
My daddy was a miner and I'm a miner's son, and I'll stick with the Union till every battle's won.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
They say in Harlan County there are no neutrals there.
Hello there, my tiny monkey army. How are we all? I am alive and or kicking. Certainly at this point in the proceeding. How are we getting on? Are we well? I do hope so. Yes. We're doing award-winning blood pressure increases tonight with Laura Koonsberg and Well, and more importantly, far more importantly, a posh bird. Not any posh bird, the posh bird. Or should I say that posh bird was technically the wording, but never mind. Yes, you can give me money if you want to. I'm not entirely sure I deserve it, but you can in the various ways that you know. And actually, I did change the alert noise to something different. So it's not Gennaro Gattuso annoying us. It's something else. Hopefully, if it works. And I forgot to turn the fucking thing on anyway. I forgot to put my noise thingy-majig on. But there we go. Yes. Don't show me that again. I don't fucking care. Right. Go away. No, I don't want that. I hate technology so much, honestly. It's very annoying. Should socialists stay in Labour? Turn left. Curtis debates an idiot who looks like clean Asmongold. That's okay. Okay.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Oh no!
Go on then, here's a tenner. Please spend it on drugs.
Well, thank you. Well, I changed the subscription noise then. Apparently we still have Gennaro Gattuso on the thing.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Why are you hey? It wouldn't let me type gay.
Well, you have preempted the noise, but thank you. I changed the subscription noise and I forgot to do the fucking super chat noise. And I forgot to turn the fucking Discord notification noises off as well. Sucker fucking penis! Anyway. Oh, death to America. Honest to God. Stream Deck. That's what I'm looking for. Fuck my. Took me like 10 seconds to remember what I was looking for. Oh, here we go. Hang on. This might work. If we just wait a second. Did it work? Did my technological ability actually come through? I don't know. It won't.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
No. Would be the answer. No.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
The answer to the question is no. No, it didn't work. I tried to change it to, why are you gay?
Sometimes may be
All
good,
right.
sometimes may be...
Shut the fuck up, Gennaro, you cunt. Fuck off. Searing in my brain my inability to do anything. Thank you. Yes, sometimes it may be good, but today it's shit. That's really annoying. I thought, oh, I've done something. I've changed the thing. Oh, that's cool. No, you fucking haven't. I don't know why it didn't work. Does it take time to work? I don't know. Fucking kill me. Just kill me in Minecraft. And what is No Justice doing? Hurry up. I'm really annoyed now. Don't take it out on other people, Kev. Okay? Just chill. Just... Okay? Just breathe. Remember, 2 seconds in through the nose, 3 seconds out through the mouth. That's the exercise. Green Brigade are missing a trick not learning this version of Bella Ciao for European games. Yeah, I guess. But to be honest, they're just taking the piss out of Mussolini was funny in the crowd. That was good. Anyway. I wonder why that didn't work though. Like, I saved it and everything, so I don't know why it wouldn't have changed. Would it only work on YouTube? I don't know. I don't know. But I don't know or maybe it's only on Twitch that it works. Either way, we won't know because I've turned Gennaro off because I don't need to be reminded of my inabilities. Thank you very much. Can someone go and poke No Justice, please? Just. I am telling you to brigade another content creator. Not literally, of course. Heard about the Raise the Colours murder charge? I have indeed, yes, because it's from my neck of the woods, no less. Sort of. Yeah, the guy from the Raise the Colours, the flag shagging wank faces from Solihull has been charged with murder in Staffordshire, I believe. Yeah, which is not surprising. A number of them have always been done for domestic violence. Like, they're exactly the kind of violent lunatic freaks we always knew they were going to be. Obviously. Like, I mean, not to make it all about football, obviously, but some of the, the violent disorder they saw in Budapest and that. And they're like, see, it's all about immigration. Motherfucker, what are you talking about? It's almost exclusively white people from the place they're from. Like, it's nothing to do with fucking immigrants that the fucking football violence happens. Are you mental? Fucking, honestly, these people are fucking demented. Right. Yes. Hello there, Helena. How are you?
I'm losing my mind over the pronunciation of the word pasta.
Why?
Because Americans are trying to convince me that I pronounce it pasta, but I don't.
No, you don't.
I pronounce it. Yeah, I literally I'm having a fucking mental breakdown because literally everyone on the internet is convinced that British people pronounce it pesta when we don't. We say pasta.
Yeah, who the fuck says pesta? I genuinely have never heard that.
So some pronunciation guides apparently say that British English is like that, but like only like the poshest of the people of the cloisters of Eton might say it like that.
Well, no, to be honest, even they would say like pasta. Like they would add an R. I don't pe. Where's the sound coming from? There is no in the word.
I don't know, Kevin. It really is driving me insane.
I can feel the anguish, the discomfort in your voice. Yeah.
Because Americans say pasta, don't they? Right?
Because they're all New York gangsters from the 50s. Yes.
But even I think stuff. It's because those New York gangsters are the ones who brought it over, essentially.
Yeah,
exactly.
America. Yeah.
It's kind of,
and they all go around going, "Hey, wise guy," yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah. I once got called genuinely by an American, and I was so proud. They called me a jabroni, and I went, "That's amazing." Like, he meant it as an insult, and I was like, "That's incredible. Please, like, can you call me that in front of my friends? That would be amazing." He was more insulted by me not being insulted, which is good because Americans are very stupid.
I mean, but people who actually know like full-on IPA pronunciation guides are telling me that I'm pronouncing it the different way that I'm actually pronouncing it.
Well, they're just wrong.
I mean,
I don't know what else to... Like, genuinely, I wouldn't get too worried about it because they're just incorrect.
Okay, cool. When I brought up the pronunciation guide and talked through it with chat agreed with me that I was pronouncing it with the sound that I thought I was pronouncing it and not the way the Americans were telling me. So I thank chat for setting my mind at ease.
What I would say to the Americans is maybe do something about your paedophile president and your school shootings first, and then maybe worry about how other people are pronouncing a word differently or something. Priorities, lads. You know.
I guess it's typical British culture.
Yeah.
That whenever, at any point, anyone ever from America says anything about anything we do, we can just respond with, "Oh, well, that may be true, but your president fucked kids.
Literally. Whereas our one just appointed a guy who was friendly with people who fucked kids.
Hey.
Which is, like, totally different and fine. Because he's still Prime Minister today, somehow. He's going to be for at least probably another month, at least. Because we live in a very normal and sensible world, of course.
Just literally him, like, with like an execution date, like 15th of June.
And I can't, like, it's so bizarre because he's gotten worse. I thought the election losses would make him at least pretend to have some backbone, but he's gotten more cooked. I think we covered this last time we talked about him asking TNT Sports nicely to allow the Champions League to be on free-to-air TV. And that went as successfully as one would imagine. They said, nah, bruv, and carried on. Because they don't often, capitalist companies don't often, like, choose to make less money than they can. That's not really how they operate. And now, of course, he's decided to ask FIFA nicely to not charge people as much to go to the games at the World Cup. And I'm sure they'll definitely listen.
I mean, what's funny is that I think that's kind of what Zahra Mamdani did, but because he's Mamdani and people give a shit what he says, they gave him like 500, like 50 quid or $50 tickets to the games in New York to be able to give out as a raffle to the people of NYC.
Well, that's because presumably he contacted them privately and actually, like, threatened them with something, like actually did some politics, whereas he's just performatively pretending to give a fuck and then being ignored because he's a cock.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, no, I just fucked your wife, clean up after me, bitch, and leaving, as they wipe their dick on your curtains. That's what the football companies are going to do, obviously. Why would they give a fuck about what Keir Starmer says? You know? That's like saying, oh no, someone on death row threatened me. Okay, well, they're going to be dead next week. I don't care. Like, what are they going to do?
What's fun? My favorite thing about Keir Starmer is that he genuinely really likes football and pays attention to football and properly follows football. And apparently, from videos we've seen, can actually kick a ball like reasonably. And yet, every time he actually speaks about football, he literally sounds like the guy from the IT crowd going, the thing about Arsenal is they always try and walk it in.
Yeah, I don't understand that, because, like you say, clearly he does. He attends Arsenal regularly, so clearly he knows about football to a degree. And yet, when it's because his politician thing is, I need to be a robot. When he starts talking about a thing, even a thing he's passionate about, but in a political setting, he just sounds atrocious. Like he doesn't know what he's doing. Even though he probably does in this one particular area. He's got enough free tickets, he should fucking understand the game a bit, I think. You know? But whatever. Also, yeah, him taking that penalty was at least better than the time he tried to punch a punching bag and looked like, I mean, honestly, if he'd sucked a dick, it would have looked less gay.
Less gay than Asmongold, clearly.
Oh my god, if that guy, that tweet of his is the gayest thing that's ever happened. Like, he mentions in there, I'm not gay, I'm just, like, in ancient Greece, they admired the male form, and blah, blah, and I'm like, motherfucker, like, the only thing gayer than ancient Greece is your tweet about ancient Greece.
Literally.
And you know who responded with,
so
yeah, I totally agree with this? The biggest closet case in the history of the universe, Nick Fuentes.
Of course he did.
Like, that makes it way less gay, lads. Yeah, okay, cool. Honestly, if he'd posted a video of him getting fucking raw dogged by 12 fucking cowboys at Ram Ranch, it would have been less homosexual than the thing he actually posted.
Honestly,
Ridiculous.
literally so true, so true. By the way, Kev,
Go on.
I've looked at the lineup for Laura Koonsberg. Literally half an hour is her talking to Nicola Sturgeon, which I'm assuming is mostly going to be, did you see the motorhome?
Yeah.
And I've just noticed that LBC have a bit where they had Owen Jones on.
Yeah.
Might that be a little more fun and interesting than watching half an hour of continual questioning about things that happened from a Scottish First Minister who's not even an MSP anymore?
Yeah, if you wanna link me to whatever the fuck that you would prefer to watch, because all I've got is that queued up. That's all I got. So
yeah. I was just like, usually it's more interesting.
What are
Who
the other guests beyond them?
It's Pat McFadden and Chris Philp.
Oh my
So someone-
god! What the fuck? Laura, you know this is at least in part supposed to be entertainment.
I mean, Chris Philp is kind of obnoxious in that kind of an
Yeah,
entertaining
but like
way, I guess he's
a
such
little bit,
cunt,
but
it's
like
funny, but
like Laura Sturgeon, Jesus Christ, Nicola Sturgeon is not a political actor anymore. So who gives a fuck? They've dug up the fucking corpse of McFadden to bore us half to death, and then Chris Philp, like, who all the time sounds like his throat is raw as shit and needs to drink something. What's the point? It's just, that's torture. What are you doing, torturing the country?
like things I would call Pat McFadden like Nosferatu, but he's far too fucking boring.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
yeah.
soporific.
He's the guy who does the accounts for the vampires. He does the admin at fucking Transylvania for them, you know? He's fucking awful. Anyway, yeah. Did you post anything anywhere? I don't know.
I popped you in the Discord DMs.
Ah, there we go. We've got, yeah, Owen Jones, okay. Yeah, we can watch this. With Ali Mirage? I don't know who that is.
Some like right-wing
No.
LBC presenter.
Fair enough, I guess. Yes. Why is it not working?
I'm
There we go. Right. Okay, I'll share with yourself. Boop. There we go. Right. Let's have a look. This is from today.
delighted to be joined by someone who I disagree with on many, many things, but who I respect highly, and also has an uncanny ability to cogently and very persuasively and seductively argue his case. I speak, of course, of Owen Jones, the Guardian columnist and author. Owen, really, really good to see you. Thank you so much.
I don't know a single right-winger who would agree with that take.
No, I'm not sure I would either.
Like, I find Owen Jones incredibly convincing. I find him incredibly erudite, elucidating his point. But I think most right-wingers just think he's a prat.
Yeah.
I think he's quite funny. The right-wingers really hate Owen Jones. They really hate Owen Jones. And I think it's interesting that Ali Mirage has a higher opinion of him, which I guess that stands to Ali Mirage's kind of intellectual honesty.
Or he just likes an older twink.
So, although now that Owen's got the beard and he's gone to the gym, he's really not got twink energy anymore.
Oh, that's a shame.
You see, he's like kind of otter territory, I think.
Well, it's better because he's done it to himself. It's not twink death. It's twink suicide.
Twink suicide.
That's what it is.
For coming in and giving up some time on your Sunday. I wanted to get you in on a big topic.
What an honour, honestly. And right back at you. I'm a big fan of yours. It's true, we don't necessarily agree on everything, let's be honest.
That's true, but I think, Rowan, it's fair to say we both care about the future of our country.
Yes, very much so.
And we're trying to find some common ground as well. So look, we're streaming live on YouTube and Global Player for this conversation for the next hour. I'm going to be asking you this question right from the start. Is Blairism or Burnhamism the right path for the country?
I don't know, given that what we've seen from Andy Burnham, I don't know that there's that much difference. Like, he's literally planning to appoint Shabana Mahmood as his fucking chancellor.
I mean, it was reported by The Sun, so I'm not sure that we can really treat it with, like, the utmost of sincerity. But, I mean, yeah, like, we'll have to see. I mean, he's certainly making some kind of broad comments that some Blairism was wrong, right? He's definitely trying to... There's definitely some whispers that maybe we shouldn't have kept everything privatized when we had all of the ability to be able to nationalize them, that he said, you know. But in terms of a bunch of, like, the conservative prescriptions, like, remember, the Rwanda plan is copied from a plan to Tanzania that the Blairite government had. Yeah. And Andy Burnham's not going to change any of our awful, like, asylum policy changes. No. And he is not going to modify the fiscal rules. So, I mean...
Well, this is the thing. Like... Even the nice sounding things, if you look at the way he does the mealy mouthed sort of, I mean, ironically quite Starmer thing of, like, he won't say nationalisation, he'll say we need a greater amount of public control. What the fuck does that mean? Like that's so fucking tenuous that you can mean anything and nothing. Like I'm hoping he's hiding his power level, so that he'll like he can get through the sort of slightly more right wing electorate in Makerfield, and then when he gets onto the national stage, he'll be better. But he's a Blairite, so like it'll be the opposite as it was with Blair. I mean,
you can't really tell, yeah. Like, at no point can you, at any point, rest on your laurels with these Labour politicians, because we all know that they are wily enough characters to speak from both sides of their mouth, depending on the electorate that they're facing, whether it is the very small electorate in Makerfield, the broad electorate of the country, or the electorate internally within the Labour Party, or indeed the people who they might need names as nominations to be Labour leader. There are so many different kind of demographics of people that they have to appeal to at different times. Who fucking knows what these people actually believe?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And on a kind of sort of allied point, what the fuck is Caroline Lucas doing exactly?
Breaking the Green Party rules is what she's doing.
I mean, that is true. Although, let's be honest, they're always slightly more liberally applied, given that as a smaller party, we've often obviously said that you should tactically vote in certain areas and stuff, which is technically against the rules, because if you remember, you should vote for and campaign for that one party, but that's not really how it works. So I don't mind that she's like has a position, but for her to for the Green Party have announced they have a candidate. Like, at this point, you have to go, okay, at the very least, I won't stand in their way and, like, badmouth the fact that we have a candidate. Like, you can't carry on being like, oh, actually, no, you should just vote for Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham needs to be an MP. There's a Green candidate, woman. What are you doing?
And, like, we've already, I think, as far as I can see, agreed for there to be a kind of muted campaign in the area. Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to descend upon it like they did on Gordon and Denton, you know?
Well, exactly. Keep your powder dry. There's a limited funds, because obviously, even though the party has grown, we don't have, like, quadrilla capital or fucking 20 gazillion pounds in crypto donations or whatever. For security reasons, you understand. No, none of that sort of thing. So, you have to pick and choose the battles that are worth fighting. And there's no point pouring in tons of resources into a seat you can't win. So, there's kind of clever politics and just sensible preservation of forces, But either way, don't come out and, like, undermine the actual candidate, though, Caroline. It's very silly. Stop it.
Yep.
Is Blairism or Burnhamism the right path for the country? 0345 6060 973. You can also text.
Well, given that Blairism is literally we should elect Elon Musk to be king and have an AI parliament or whatever. Like, I don't know what that his plan is anything at all. It's ridiculous.
84850. Tony Blair with his piece in the Observer today.
Although I was thinking today, right? You know how they can just have AI representatives on Question Time now? Why not, given that he's on every week, just have
Zia Yusuf.
5 Zia Yusufs? Just have 5 Zia Yusufs AI'd, and then he doesn't have to bother himself. Because you know what he's going to say? Every question is just, oh, immigrants did it. Immigrants are bad.
It's like alarm clock Britain, immigrants, asylum seekers, woke left, literally just dialogue tree.
Like, you can AI that man because he's, like, not actually intelligent.
The thing is, you don't even need, like, the advanced nature of large language models. You just need a fucking dictaphone.
Exactly. Yeah. Just one of those, like, the technology that used to be in those dolls that you pull a string back and it had, like, 5 pre-prescribed things it would say. Just one of those.
Somebody's poison the water hole.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You pull it back. If we just reduced immigration, everything would be fine.
Also, apparently, 1,000 pages of the PETA files are being released tomorrow.
That's not the people for the ethical treatment of animals, who, ironically, are not for the ethical treatment of animals.
Peter Mandelson.
Yeah, Peter Mandelson, yeah. Conveniently, just after the election. What a surprise. Although, just before Andy Burnham's election, I guess.
I mean, it's making it even easier to usurp Starmer, given how embarrassing it's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty bad, I think. I think we're going to find out that maybe all of the lies he told about the lies about the lies about the lies about the lies he told were lies.
All lies. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
The future demands a radical response. He says this: the debate is not about Labour's mission, but how to achieve it in a fast-changing world. My essay has provoked what has been, on the whole, good and healthy debate. It isn't...
No, it hasn't. No, it actually hasn't. Because ironically, like, one criticism I will make of the response to it is just saying he didn't mention inequality isn't enough. Like, he didn't mention inequality, and that's a fair critique in a sense, but you can't just ignore everything someone says because they don't have your pet issue at heart. Tony Blair, for whatever reason, was elected to be Prime Minister of this country 3 fucking times, and his voice has some weight to it. So actually take on the arguments, and they didn't. They just went, he didn't mention inequality, and that's enough. Because liberals are fucking shit.
And the thing is, ironically, it'd probably been really easy to go, million dead Iraqis, fuck off.
Yeah.
And most people in this country would have taken that as a...
But Andy Burnham can't do that because he's also guilty of the million dead Iraqis, lest we forget.
Literally.
But at least Keir Starmer could do that, but then everyone would go, 100,000 dead Palestinians? Because they're all disgusting monsters at heart, really.
Yeah.
about the why of the progressive political mission. It's basically about the how.
How is Tony Blair a part of the fucking progressive political mission?
His entire political prospectus he outlined in his open letter was just identical to Kemi Badenoch.
Yeah.
But what's different? Literally, drill in the North Sea, cut welfare, get rid of the workers' rights, and do more deregulation. That was his platform, was just do what Kemi Badenoch wanted.
Well, you say that, but he didn't mention Chagos either. So...
It's true. But he also said get close to Trump, which is basically the same thing.
Yeah. Which is interesting, considering Trump is literally hanging out the back of him. He got very close to Trump.
Oh, yeah, he did.
How? He talks about higher growth creating opportunity, better public services and especially education, lower energy costs, improved living standards and affordability, lower taxes also, especially for the lower paid. Andy Burnham's got a completely different prescription there, much more interventionist, also around...
Well, I don't mind lower taxes on the lower paid. I'm actually for that. I think there needs to be a radical upscaling, if you will, of progressive taxation. I think a lot of poorer people need to be taken out of tax altogether if we can. I've got no problem with that.
How much lower can the tax get? We already have some of the lowest taxes on the lower income earners in this country.
Right, but I'm
every
suggesting
country in Europe, right?
Right, but I'm suggesting that we have higher taxes on richer people, which is also a thing that can and should be done.
I mean, obviously I agree with that, right? But we already have like a pretty weak tax base at the moment. I disagree. I think the level of tax that people pay now is basically fine. If we're going to try and improve people's living conditions, higher wages is how I would do it rather than necessarily tax cuts. But it's by the by. At the end of the day, we all want poor people better off.
Well, again, Tony Blair doesn't.
No, well, exactly, yeah.
Tax, public ownership and other things. I mean, when we hear a 3-time electoral success in Tony Blair, arguably the most successful Labour politician in its history.
I don't think it's arguable. I think it's undeniable. Literally, just statistically, no Labour politician has ever gotten 3 majorities. Ever. In fact, there have only ever been, 5 Labour Prime Ministers? And Gordon Brown was never elected to that position, and neither was Callaghan, yeah. So they've only had 3 ever elected. One was by minority, and isn't really counted because the first one that fucked off, Ramsay MacDonald, with the Tories. So really, there've only been 2 ever, and that's Wilson and Blair, and then obviously Starmer now.
Attlee.
Well, to Attlee as well, yeah. But again, that was not a massive majority, and it didn't last that long. Whereas Tony Blair was there for a decade, and probably could have carried on if it weren't for the fact that he guaranteed that he would step down for Brown. But there we go.
Well, I don't think I think didn't he step down because he was pressured over the Lebanon war?
Well, no. Well, yes, but in terms of the fact that he'd said that The deal that was cut between Blair and Brown in, what, 95 or whatever, was that Brown wouldn't run for the leadership, then Blair would, and then he stepped down after 2 terms, which he did go back on, to be fair, but then stepped down like 2 years later anyway.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, you probably have license to continue standing if you win the electoral victories you did that Blair had, you know.
And again, it's not just undeniable statistically, but even after the Iraq War, which was like universally unpopular, he still won a majority, which is pretty incredible, really. Yeah.
We've got to take him seriously, haven't we?
You know, I think if Harold Wilson hadn't have died back in 1995, and he was still popping around in the 2000s, lecturing Labour on his electoral formula on the basis he'd won 4 elections, I think people would have found that absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, I think that's an element that isn't really being talked about, but ex-Prime Ministers should really shut the fuck up, I think. Once you've had your go, stop. Just go off into the sunset and, you know, shut the fuck up.
At the very least, like, Harold Wilson can claim to actually be a Labour Prime Minister, having actually done things a Labour Prime Minister would do.
Yeah.
Although he was a massive Zionist.
That's also true. But, yeah.
Found it ridiculous. I think they would have said that was a completely different era, a completely different time, and you can't transplant your political model from that era into a totally different political universe. I mean, what Blairism did was rely on an economic model that was geared towards the City of London, and that pact, that kind of Faustian pact, if you like, was we'll take the tax revenues and we'll invest them in public services. That economic model collapsed in 2008, the financial crash, and it never recovered.
And as we've talked about with PFIs, it was partly based on selling the future of younger people to win the votes of boomers and Gen X people in the 2000s. Yeah.
And the problem is, Blairites, or whatever you want to call that whole wing of the Labour Party, never came up with a different model. And that's their basic existential problem. I agree with him when he says this government is directionless and doesn't have a national mission. But I think that isn't specific to Keir Starmer. I'm letting him off the hook, maybe. I think that's the whole wing of the Labour Party. You know, Keir Starmer has actually taken on several of Blair's staffers in Number 10. I mean, he basically did everything that whole wing of the Labour Party asked him to do. And, you know, it's a combination of that economic model which, after the crash, stopped providing sustained increases and improvements to living standards, to security and to public services. And that's what's caused the turmoil in this country. People feel angry at the system, and that goes off in different directions. For some, it might be Brexit. For some, now it might be the Green Party. It might be Scottish nationalism for others. But the point is, that economic model, which, unfortunately, you know...
You think a man called Owen Jones wouldn't forget Welsh nationalism, but...
So true, so true. Just want to point out, Moss Bears in chat asks, could you do a video on why the fiscal rules are bad? Genuinely want to know. Well, the main thing that was bad about the fiscal rules, it's not the first one, which is that taxation has to match operational expenditure, which is basically fine. It's the second fiscal rule, which is that they will only borrow as much as the OBR says means that at the end of the 5-year period, overall debt to GDP ratio will be going down. And I'm like, why? Why is that the metric? And B, why do the OBR get to say when or will or will not be dropping? Like, the projections of the OBR shouldn't be treated as gospel, and that's why I do like the second fiscal one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the amount of it's very typical, I suppose, of Starmer's political. I don't know, thinking, if thinking is even a word you can apply to him. An arm's length body that is not accountable, that can't be removed, that has absolutely no scrutiny from the public whatsoever, gets to decide on fiscal matters in the nation. It's very Starmer, because he can just say, well, the OBR did it, we didn't do it, and then be surprised when people go, well, if you didn't do anything, why should we fucking care? Leave. I didn't elect you to be a bitch to the OBR. What?
What, again, Tony Blair took, he said, when Margaret Thatcher died, he said he saw his role as to build on what she did. Yeah. He kept that model and try to basically soften the edges with public spending.
Well, the biggest condemnation I can ever imagine, and this is absolutely true, Margaret Thatcher used to boast that her greatest success was New Labour.
Yep. They forced their opponents to change their minds.
Yeah, well, not even change their minds, because most Labour Party people, or even up until Starmer, were still vaguely social democratic people. They hadn't changed their mind. What they'd done is optics cucked themselves out to a political project of Mendelssohnian evil.
Well, I think that's probably true of Gordon Brown. But if you're reading Tony Blair's words in the essay that he posted, in the open letter that he posted the other day, it's just conservatism. It is just that.
He's gotten worse, though. I don't think 1997 Blair would have written that piece.
That's true, maybe not, but I do just think that actually, if there's someone who definitely has changed his mind, it probably is Tony Blair. Given this is a guy who used to share an office with Dave Nellist.
Literally, to be a fly on the wall.
Ending from those tax revenues, but that's not an economic model that unfortunately works. And actually, if you look at economic growth, you spoke about economic growth, and we all agree you need it. Economic growth. Then to take the proceeds of that and invest in people and communities and services. If you look from the Thatcherism onwards, economic growth has just been going down, and it's been less equitably distributed. In the 70s, which has demonised this hellhole of the country falling apart.
That's not technically true. It has been redistributed from public ownership into private hands. That's the redistribution of wealth that's taken place. Public assets have been stripped, and the profits of that have been given to a very small number of evil bastards. Literally another fantastic success story this week. Did you see that the post office massively missed, yet again, delivery targets?
Of course it did. How could they not?
Yeah.
Daniel Tratinsky just showing in yet another privatization success story.
Yeah. And again, it's so typical. Right. To segue slightly from the point that I was making, and I knew I had to find the clip of it. This was from today as well. This is Pat McFadden, so boring cunt. But literally, the Labour Party's complete unwillingness to see the government as an agent to do anything. Because he was literally asked here, right? Labour said they were going to get rid of discriminatory age bans so that all adults would be entitled to the same minimum wage. And he said that it's not up to the government to do it. Well, who the fuck is it up to then? What, you want a fucking Quango to do it on your behalf? What? They fundamentally don't see the government as a thing that should interfere.
It's a crazy thing for him to. He says government legislation.
Yeah.
This is state intervention. Literally, just we decided that we were going to entirely subcontract out the role of governance of other people. I guess that's why all the consultancy spend has gone up.
Yeah, it's absolute madness. And again, they've learned nothing. They've got absolutely fucking battered at the polls, and they've learned nothing.
We had economic growth, higher economic growth in the 70s on average than we did in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s. So, I don't buy this idea that, let the market rip. I mean, his whole proposals are get rid of real terms increases to the minimum wage, get rid of weaken net zero commitments, deregulation, welfare cuts. I mean, he sounds like Liz Truss in 2022.
Well, I mean, certainly Kemi Badenoch could sign up to most of those things, but isn't it a case, Owen, that...
No pre-watch.
Yeah, mate. Again, how is he a part of the progressive political anything then? If Kemi Badenoch can sign up to your prospectus, you're not a progressive. Obviously.
Well, exactly. I mean, you shouldn't be in the Labour Party. You shouldn't be advising the Labour Party.
Yeah.
Join the Conservative Party and fuck off.
Yep.
It's not that he probably doesn't want to focus on net zero in the longer term, but what he's saying is that you've got an issue.
Although, to be fair, I don't know that he would want to join a party that was as pro-migration as the Tories were when they were actually in government.
Well, no, that's
Because
true.
he let in far fewer people.
I mean, it's crazy, right? That Blair is being widely panned by the right as being the father of mass migration. I'm like, well, it got bigger.
It got way bigger, like orders of
Yeah.
magnitude bigger. But,
issue right now of high energy costs that are holding back the economy. And he's saying if the central mantra of the entire Labour government was growth, then some of the measures that they've been taking on workers' rights and on increases in the minimum wage and all of these things don't help the growth agenda.
Well, I mean, if you take clean energy, which, he says, this choice between clean energy or cheap energy.
Yes.
But for new electricity generation, renewables are much cheaper than fossil fuels in this country. I mean, it's based on completely out-of-date, factually wrong assumptions
But you still need
about renewable
baseload
energy.
power. You still need baseload power as well, Owen. And you look at Norway, for example, and how they're doing, and you look at the way the economy's flatlining at the moment. I mean, our growth is paltry.
Well,
I'm not saying...
yeah, you look at how Norway does it. Nationalise the oil, then, you prick.
I mean, that's the thing as well, is that most of Norway's electricity is generated by hydroelectricity, and it's all state-owned.
Yep.
Their electricity generation is by Statkraft, which is an entirely state-owned energy company that deals with all of their energy production and energy transmission. Now, it's not like sold at like average price. They still use like private, marketized prices for electricity, but they have so much hydroelectricity, and not just hydroelectricity that is used to generate it itself, but also they use it as a way of storing electricity so that they can have a dynamic grid that can increase the power very easily without having to turn on new sources during periods of high demand. It means they have significantly lower industrial energy costs than we do. It's an incredibly flexible system that is only possible because it's entirely state-owned.
Well, exactly. That's like but the only thing you need to remember about the British government is that it doesn't see itself as a thing for the betterment of the British people. It sees itself as a way of distributing public money into private hands. That's it.
Yep.
That's all it does. Can this make money for rich people? If yes, then we'll do it. If no, then not.
It's just down to the Labour government. I mean, it's been paltry for the last 15 years, to be fair.
Norway's quite a good example because what they did, of course, when they struck oil, is they invested it in a
sovereign wealth fund.
In a sovereign wealth
Yes.
fund, where we just frittered it away on tax cuts
true.
in the 1980s, which has obviously left us another example of our economic model being broke. No, the problem in this. In our
Gentlemen,
economy, we've got a low-wage
this
economy.
Yes.
And we've gone through the
Democracy
longest squeeze
Manifest.
in wages in this country since the Napoleonic age. And what that does is two things.
And we don't even get to invade France or anything.
So imagine the decline being so fucking boring.
Yeah. Like, I want to fire a cannon at some French people. What's wrong with that? Really?
Well, Info Station chat, like, it's worth pointing out that the oil company, the oil drilling company in Norway, which is Equinor, it's majority state-owned. It's not entirely state-owned. It's about 60 to 70% state-owned. There is some private ownership as well, so that they have this mandate to appease shareholders and to do gas prices right. But the sovereign wealth fund, the actual revenue that 67% share in Equinor pays out in dividends to the state, that is what invests in the sovereign wealth fund, which is entirely state-owned, and is $1.5 trillion. It comprises
For a
1.5.
For a nation of like 4 million people?
Yep, for a very, very small nation. And the fun fact, the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund owns 1.5% of all publicly traded assets in the world. In the fucking world.
That's 1.5 trillion would be massive for Britain, and we are a nation many, many times its size in terms of population. 1.5 trillion for a nation of like no one. They've got like 3 fucking cities. What? Oh, it's insane. It's insane the amount of fucking financial wealth that's been pissed away by the Thatcherite fucking experiment. Honest to God, disgusting.
It's genuinely depressing. Like, you look at the absolute fucking axe that's been taken to our economy, the scythe that's been taken to our economy by Thatcherism. It's so depressing. It's literally because this country. I don't think this country is recoverable, not just because of obviously those Thatcherite policies, but combined with the failure to invest during the low interest rate period in the 2010s, right, when we should have been building the next generation of high-speed rail and clean energy and public transport and industrial strategy and good jobs. We could have done all of that stuff, and instead we decided to murder poor people.
Yeah. I'm rarely more optimistic than you, I think, but on this one I think I am. I don't believe in such a concept as unrecoverable. I don't think that's real. I think all it would take would be a sustained government actually trying to affect things positively, and we could see some real big differences in the living standards of people. It wouldn't take that much. We're still a relatively rich nation, but there is a decent base from which to build, albeit crumbling, but we could sustain it and we could build upon this. It wouldn't take that much, actually. But unfortunately, the reason that won't happen, of course, is because we have a media that basically screams anti-Semitism at anyone who even vaguely suggests like a wealth tax or something, you know.
That's probably true, yeah.
Which makes it virtually impossible to imagine a government being elected that could do that sustained positive intent. But there we go. We'll wait and see. But there's no such thing as unrecoverable. Nations have gone completely bankrupt and been destroyed. Literally, within living memory, Germany was in ruins and built itself up to become the fifth-rate richest country in the world or something. Like, nothing's unrecoverable. Russia was literally destroyed and became one of the two superpowers of Earth.
I mean, yeah, they went from a society of subsistence farmers to sending people to fucking space
in 50 years.
Yep.
Absolutely insane. Yeah.
It sucks demand out of the economy, not least in communities where industries were ripped out in the 80s, the heart of those communities ripped away. But it also means that the taxpayer has to step in with in-work benefits to top up those wages. We need to change the economic model so that people have more money in their pockets, because when poorer people get money in their pockets, they go and spend it. When richer people have extra money, they tend to save it. They put it, if they're very rich, in offshore accounts. That's not good for the economy at all. The problem in this economy is we've got a low productivity economy.
We do. I agree with you there.
We've got a productivity crisis. We've got massive regional inequalities in this country.
London-centric.
Very London-centric. Yep. So the infrastructure and all the rest of it focused there. If you go to much of the country, like I'm from Stockport, if you go to much of this country, it's comparable to Eastern Europe in terms of people's living standards and the level of infrastructure. I mean, Poland is projected, actually, in a few years, it could even surpass Britain. But the point I'm making is, these are all...
Are we going to have a situation where the Poles start complaining about British plumbers?
I mean, because unfortunately we're trapped here. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem, right? Like, I really want to get fucking...
Oh, God.
Do like a big anti-boomer rant and just go super viral because old people are mad at me, and it's just going to be like all of these things that boomers got that we didn't, and then at the end I'm going to go, and then after ruining our futures and voting to subsume the entire wealth of the country at the expense of us, they then voted to trap us on this godforsaken hellscape by voting to leave the European Union and taking away our ability to flee to fucking Germany or some shit. Fuck you.
Problems which both Labour under Tony Blair and the Conservatives and Keir Starmer aren't addressing. Okay. It's an economic model which is based on share buybacks and dividends. We call it financialisation instead of investment.
Well, it's interesting you mention that, because this is where I think the real departure comes between Tony Blair and Andy Burnham. Because Andy Burnham's given his own riposte. He actually wrote back...
Oh, Phil, don't tempt fate. How long until African nations are doing a benefit concert for us? Oh, God. Live 9. Oh, no.
in the Times and hit back at Tony Blair and was basically talking about the fact that Tony Blair hasn't really understood the central problem of inequality in his argument, the falling living standards of millions, and he comes out with a very different prescription, as you know, Owen, which is really around more devolution. He's talking about much more intervention by the state, more public ownership, and actually.
How's that going to happen with the same fiscal rules? Look, it's like saying, well, I'm going to put myself in the same straitjacket, but I will also play the piano.
I mean, I guess it depends on what his taxation plan is going to be. We'll see if he actually goes ahead, if Burnham goes ahead and does his land tax potentially. That's one thing that I do agree with him on. But it just seemed like that's something he's copied from us in the Green Party. It's in our manifesto.
How can you tax land? It doesn't even work. I'm very funny.
Actually, even talking about tax reform like land value taxes or a universal tax on death duties to fund social care. Do you think that the Burnham model is the right model, not only for the Labour Party, but for the country's future?
Well, I don't yet know what Burnhamism is, and he has, alas, U-turned on some of the commitments he's previously made.
What's he U-turned on now?
Well, I mean, he U-turned on what taxes? I think it will. I mean, what the sort of tax commitments he was going to make in terms of the fiscal rules that he was going to.
That's true. By. He has already done that, but that's because he said I don't want to be in hot with to the bond markets, and realised he had to be.
Well, yeah, because he made a stupid comment really about a couple of years ago about the bond markets, which he didn't need to say, and that puts extra pressure on him. He's talks about the bond markets the way you just said. You need a strategy for the bond markets. No one can pretend otherwise. I think what is right, what he said there, is Britain is one of the most centralised Western countries. It remains one of the most centralised Western countries.
But like one of his plans to devolve powers is to get local councils to have to deal with the migrant housing issue.
This is the craziest thing, by the way.
And give them
crazy.
Apparently, give them no extra money to do so. So the already no houses that local people have are going to be taken by people, and reform councils are going to definitely house these people. Are they? That's definitely going to happen, Andy. Yeah.
There's this real bind the governments are in when it comes to asylum seekers, because people A don't want asylum seekers near them. B, they don't want asylum seekers increasing rents. They don't want them taking up space in social housing because it shutters access for British people. They don't want it to cost an arm and a leg for the state itself. And on top of that, they also don't want them to be visible. They don't want to be too visibly, which is what happens, right? So in the hotel example, they are very visible because they're all in the same place, all at the same time. You know that it's a migrant hotel. It's incredibly visible. When it comes to the asylum hotels as well, it's really expensive. It is 10 times, by the way, 10 times more expensive to house an asylum seeker in a hotel than to put them in a council house or in private rented accommodation paid for by the local council, which is crazy to think, right? But it is literally more expensive to do that. But on top of that, it's also much better in terms of delivery because you're not taking up council housing space, and it is keeping people in an area where they're easy to check on. They're easy to check on if you're all in the same place, right? It's a real holding pen, if you'll pardon a pretty grotesque phrase to use for asylum seekers. So it's good for keeping an inventory. But you can't please anybody. You put them in the hotels and they know that they're there and you're paying loads of money. So you could save a bunch of money and you can make them far more discreet by putting them in social housing, put them in HMOs. But then it's taking up those spaces that people of the local community would want. So you can't really win. And on top of this, Andy Burnham is not going to fund councils to do this either, which already have, again, as we pointed out, a shortage, a dearth of council housing and a shortage of funds because they're spending all their money on adult social care. Yep.
So, forgive me if I'm not very optimistic for his premiership.
And again, because I think that the long-term solution is to make sure that you have purpose-built asylum accommodation, like processing centres.
Yeah.
You have all the amenities you need in those processing centres so that they don't leave, right? It sounds really nice to say we should essentially kind of bang them up in these processing centres, but in my mind, these things are not bad places to be, right? The problem, of course, is how do you stop a future government from not making them shit? But the biggest problem people have at the moment is they're not vetted because that's part of the
and of course, you're going about it being high profile. No matter where you build this, unless it's like in the middle of literally nowhere, which, I mean, why would they stay there? They want to work, so they're going to go to cities. Unless you make it in the middle of nowhere, people are going to notice a massive new immigrant centre in their community.
Yeah, it's a whole ass mess. It's a whole ass mess. Because yeah, like the easiest way of doing so would be to again have enough council housing, have enough social housing. That just wouldn't matter.
Oh, well,
have them in dispersal accommodation.
There are lots of Russian-owned and Saudi-owned and Qatari-owned housing in Kensington and Chelsea.
True, so fucking true.
Let's go, immigrant
Literally
centre,
so true.
central London, perfect for the admin. Let's go. You know, what more do you want?
The irony, of course, when we're talking about the difference in dispersal accommodation and hotels, is that, again, the biggest concern people have is the safety of asylum seekers. Of course, there's no evidence for this, but you can't change how people feel. And they feel more threatened if they have all the asylum seekers in the hotel in the same place. I'm like, it's literally much easier to check and keep these people detectable if they're all in the same place in a hotel. Like, the more visible they are to you, the more visible they are to the state to ensure that they're being policed, right? Having them in dispersal accommodation where you have to individually check on each individual one to make sure they're not committing any crimes. That's clearly far more dangerous if you're worried about potential asylum crime.
Well, but this is the thing. Human beings and actual fact don't necessarily combine very well. Crime has been significantly going down. Violent crime has been going down consistently for decades now. And yet the fear of crime has continued to increase. Because it's got nothing to do with the actual reality of it. It's how people feel. People are not robots, you know.
And, you know, even though we've had devolution to a degree in England, in Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and various mayoralties, it still remains more centralised than most European
Centralised around London and the financial sector. Is that the main thing?
Well, yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's geared...
centralised and massively stratified. It's still the same schools that run everything. It's the same universities that run everything. Yeah. Or people who graduate from those places, not the actual institutions, but yeah.
Yeah, like we literally have a fucking meme where every week when we watch Question Time, we do school checks on all of the people on the panel, and it's just literally all the same schools all the time. Speaking of which,
but yeah, do a school check. Although he sounds vaguely normal, but we'll see. When was the last time we actually did a school check on like a group of them, and one of them didn't go to Uxbridge and do PPE?
It's just crazy. So, like, although even if that's not that, it's like LSE or it's you know, UCL or whatever it is,
St.
you know,
Andrews,
Imperial College.
Yeah.
So Ali Mirage is a former British Tory parliamentary candidate, chartered accountant, and part-time DJ.
Okay. I need to know about the part-time DJing at some point. But where did he go to school?
Life. And became interested in house music. So there you go.
By the way, just for Americans, the Ministry of Sound is not actually a government ministry. It was set up as like a kind of joke version of that, but it was a club, right, in London, called the Ministry of Sound, but it wasn't actually a ministry. There wasn't a Secretary of State for Sound.
Imagine though. I mean, technically, it's what culture, digital culture, media, sport, right?
Yeah, but like, I'm actually a junior minister. I'm the drum and bass minister. So you know.
Imagine if we get all party parliamentary group on drum and bass. Let's fucking go. Oh, he's so good. So I have done the school check. So he went to fucking... By the way, if you're an American watching, God knows why you're still watching after I insulted your people and your pronunciation of the word pasta. But I promise you, this is a real school I'm about to say the name of. So Kev already knows how, like, there's going to be a private school. This school he went to is genuinely called Haberdasher Asks.
I got... How are we spelling that?
So haberdasher is spelled Haberdashers. Haberdashers.
So like haberdasher, yeah, go on.
Yeah. Ask is spelled Aske, and they're both like possessive. So haberdashers asks boys' school.
What the fuck? I've never even heard of that. It's so posh it doesn't make sense.
The only way I know about it is because it's mentioned in the film The History Boys. Insofar as like it's one of the state school that they're at in Sheffield, in the play The History Boys. The headmaster is obsessed with them going up the rankings and trying to compare themselves with the posh private schools. It's the only way I know about it. So the school was founded in 1690 by a royal charter granted to the Worshipful Company of Haberdashers.
What the fuck? Oh my god. Honestly, the people of the other parts of the world must think we're actually like a fucking Harry Potter land. What the fuck? The Noble Guild of Haberdashers set up a school in 17 Skiggity Boo. Like, what the fuck is any of that?
In the wise words of Doug Stanhope, what is this, a country or a Renaissance festival?
Literally, we are a fucking Ren Fair. We're an old age people's home with a Ren Fair sign. That's all we are. What the
Oh dear.
fucking hell. Anyway, where university, yeah?
It's LSE, so not Oxbridge, but one of
Yeah.
the other ones that I said when I was talking about typical universities that posh people go to. Haberdasher asks.
David Baddiel went to Haberdasher Asks, apparently. I'm
course he
being
did.
told. I'm being told. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Let's have a look here.
Unbelievable.
Is there notable pupils? Notable former pupils.
It's going to be like Lord Farquhar and Sir David Pimblebob and David Baddiel.
List of all. There's a whole. There's a Wikipedia article for it.
Well, if the haberdasher does ask, and the haberdasher needs to know the answer, boom.
So that's right. This is fucking hilarious. The Right Honourable Lord Feldman.
There you go.
Lance Foreman. The Right Honourable Lord Folks of Cumnock.
I told you. People thought, oh, he's going over the top there. No, it's going to be that. It's going to be Lord Pimblebob. Fucking Lord. There's going to be like some random guy from like Pakistan called like Lord Ali Farquhar or some shit like that, right? This is guaranteed. It's going to be like the son of the former dictator of Uganda or something. You know, it's going to be that list of fucking crazy bastards and David Baddiel.
The Right Honourable Sir David Liddington.
Told you.
Alderman Ian Luder.
There you go.
Sorry, incredible. Oh my god, this is literally couldn't get funnier than this, right?
Go on.
Daniel Taub, former Israeli ambassador to the United Kingdom.
Oh no. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh.
Thing.
Yeah.
Simon Sharma did.
Simon Sharma.
Apparently, Mark Kermode, Matt Lucas.
Yeah.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
So hang on, is it okay? I don't want to be that, but is it a Jewish school then? Because all of those people
No,
are Jewish. The ones you just named are basically all Jewish. Someone said it sounds like a medieval drug ring. It does.
I mean, they were definitely for fucking high throughout the whole of this, you know?
Yeah.
The former CEO of Ocado, CEO of Leon Restaurants, CEO of Improbable, CEO of WPP, founder of Carlton Television.
Yep. See, it's basically all of your ruling class. Yep. Of course it is. And I said he sounded normal. He does. He sounds vaguely normal. But even the posh cunts are running the Ministry of Sound.
It costs more to send your kids to Haberdasher Asks than I earn in a year.
Well, of course, yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. I am disgusted by the place I live. I just am.
Sector. And the needs of the economy in London, the South East. By the way, I say that. I mean, look, London's got some of the worst poverty in the country.
Yes.
But you get Islington stereotyped as this champagne socialist, land. 40% plus kids grow up in poverty. But nonetheless, it works very well for people who are very well off in London, the South East, and it doesn't work very well for most other people. So we need to obviously have that kind of devolution. But and I think, what he has been talking about and what we need to talk about more are how we tax wealth rather than income, which is at the moment the debate that I think we should be having. And that's good for the economy because the problem is we have an economy based on asset bubbles. We have, I don't know if you've ever spoken to Gary Stevenson, the former.
Yeah, I follow him very closely.
Well, he's a former City banker, and he made his money by betting that inequality and wealth inequality in British society.
He's talking about taxing wealth.
Exactly, because the problem is if you don't tax that wealth, then it ends up that the collective wealth in our society gets sucked into property portfolios and so on, and that's not good for the real economy. So, I mean, talking about land value tax, that's something which the Labour Party originally started speaking about when it was first founded, because we have at the moment council taxes, which was based on valuations of the early 90s, which are regressive. I mean, they hammer poorer people. They don't in any way account for how things have changed since the 1990s. So, I think what we need to talk about is how we make the tax system more progressive, how we tax wealth more than income, and how we move away from a financialised system, because that I think is holding the economy back.
I mean, look, my own view is that the cities are one of the great jewels in the crown of this country, and we talked about it a few weeks ago on the show, but we'll come back to all of this. Owen, you've got us on.
Ali, hi Owen. So the point I'd like to start with is that everybody seems to forget that Andy Burnham was a Blairite cabinet minister, and he was also the centrist candidate among three other poorly performing candidates in the 2015 leadership election. Now, the starting point for Burnham really is actually one on delivery, and we've been really short on this as a country over the past decade and a half. So the projects he's managed to get off the ground in Manchester are certainly transformative at a local level. Now, the question is whether he has the ability to scale that up. I don't think rehashed Blairism is necessarily going to be good on all fronts anyway. Yes, you want economic dynamism and probably, wholesale taxation reform, and that needs to be started from the ground up. I don't think we can use the model of the 90s and 2000s. But also, the other thing to touch upon with Mr. Blair is foreign adventurism, and what the attitude is to that. And that hasn't really been interrogated all that much. And I think if we really want to see flesh on the bone in the Labour leadership discussion, it will boil down not just to the economics, but also to things around our attitude to the European Union and the level of integration that we want to have with it, as well as attitudes to foreign conflict, because that has really risen.
Understood, Milo, but just to be clear on Burnham, where are you on Burnham? Are you basically saying that the jury's out, we're going to have to wait and see whether he can implement what he did in Manchester more broadly?
I think the jury is still very much out, because his political journey is actually from the Blairite wing of the party.
Owen, you wrote a piece.
That's a really interesting piece of analysis there. Yeah, I tend to agree with what that guy was saying there. Especially, I think the most kind of cogent thing is that you can't just replicate the 90s and 2000s again, where we just had like endless growth out of the fumes of the financial sector without bothering to look at the state of the real economy. And that was a real Goldilocks zone where anyone would succeed, that Blair inherited basically by accident after Black Wednesday. Right, the economy was growing under John Major. And, of course, the big failure was that he didn't turn that growth into broad-based growth across the country. The Gini coefficient went up when Blair was in government, but everyone was busy enjoying the growing economy. They didn't really care that it was being distributed unfairly or wasn't being put back into investment, And so trying to assume that you can just do Blair again and just cut some welfare and just expect growth to happen without directing it somewhere, without taking this new, less globalized, more fragmented global economy, the uncertain future, and thinking where we're going to stake our claim in a competitive international environment, right? Like Blair is just living in a dream world that he can just do what he did in the 2000s all over again. And he's super right to point that out.
Yeah, absolutely right. What school did I go to? I went to St. Peter's Roman Catholic School in Solihull. Regular state school. The most famous person from there is Jack Grealish, the footballer. That is literally it.
I didn't know. That's interesting. It's interesting. I went to Sir William Borlase' school. I lived in an area which still had the 11 plus, so I went to a grammar school, it's still state school. But
any famous or powerful people from there?
Let me have a look.
Jack Grealish, the first £100 million English footballer. That's about it though. He's currently on loan at Everton. So
former. No, no one interesting. It seems Alfie May, who played for Charlton Athletic.
who?
Literally, that's basically it.
Also,
Yeah,
Karen Carney, former England international footballer as well. She was in my year at school, in fact. But she's less famous, I guess. She's on the telly. She does punditry and stuff. I wonder if she remembers me. Definitely not. Actually, she used to do ballet at my dad's school. And when I say my dad's school, the school at which he was the caretaker. Janitor, for the Americans. Who didn't, like, run a school or wasn't a teacher or anything. They don't let the Irish teach in Britain. Anyway. I was having that with him today as well, the joke about, you know, when Nige gets in, we're sending you fucking back, you old cunt. Go on, fuck off. That family's weird. Alfie May literally play for Birmingham. Oh, oh, sorry. Yes, no, he did play for Birmingham last year. Yeah. Apologies. But then we sold him, like, straight away. Yeah. Oh, so Alfie May went to your school. I paid to watch him last year. That's it.
A couple of weeks ago, after the painful ruse of Starmerism, the left should be cautious about Andy Burnham.
Yes, well, I mean, Keir Starmer stood on a platform back in 2000 of public ownership, taxing the rich, scrapping tuition fees, a foreign policy based on human rights. He scrapped all of that, and his leadership campaign had no interest whatsoever in abiding by that. They wanted to dupe a left-wing membership and take power. So I guess, I completely take what Milo's saying, and I've said it myself, which is, after that, you know, to look at Andy Burnham's own trajectory, which was Blairite and kind of zigzagged around a bit. I'm not saying he may well have gone on an authentic political journey. There are those who say he has because of experience in Manchester, but it would be unbelievably naive to suddenly lap up what he's saying uncritically, bearing in mind the experience with Keir Starmer. I mean, that point about foreign adventurism, by the way, is so important, because obviously Blairism was based abroad on sucking up to the United States uncritically. Yeah. That's what led us to the killing fields of Iraq.
Still wants to do that now.
Well, but I mean, look, in his essay, he made it clear that we should have been more fully involved in the Iran war. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Yeah. I mean, we should have let the bases be used.
Well, we should for offensive purposes. Yes, we already did allow them to be used, unfortunately, by the way. But you know, we had the Iraq war, blood and chaos. We had Afghanistan, where the Taliban ended up stronger than ever. In those, not only vast numbers of Afghans and Iraqis died, but hundreds of British service personnel as well. He wanted us to get involved in the war in Iran. You've got to look at that and think, this man is incapable of learning anything. So what we'd have to know from Andy Burnham, because we haven't heard from foreign policy from him at all.
True.
He hasn't been scrutinised. I'd like to know what his position is on Iran, on Israel's genocide.
Well, as a former member of the Labour Friends of Israel, I'm sure he has a very progressive attitude towards that.
So true, so true. And the thing is, you think that, again, literally anyone would learn. Because it's worth pointing out that the Iraq War wasn't just bad because of all the people that died in the actual conflict itself. Because, as was pointed out, millions of Iraqis died, British service personnel died, people from the actual Iraqi army who were fighting died as well. Like, it was a huge killing field, as Owen points out. But it's not just that. It's not just that. The destabilization that spawned, not just the rise of ISIS, but all of the spillover conflicts that created, the creation of ISIL as well, you know? So it spilled over into North Africa. It spilled over into Syria. It almost collapsed the socialist project for the Kurds in Syria as well, which led to having people flying from all over the world to fight to defend Kurdistan. The amount of bloodshed that one military intervention caused cannot fully be encapsulated by talking about just what happened in that one war, because it destabilized the entire region for ages, pure on the grounds of Saddam bad, right?
Well, yeah, go on.
And the justification for the war in Iran is Ayatollah bad. Yeah. That's it. It's the same justification, same actors, same stupid people in this country wanting to do the same thing. And it's like we never fucking learn. We're already seeing the after effects economically from the closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
I mean, but you say that the Iraq War was bad, but it did spawn the Saddam Hussein hiding red body meme. So, is it all bad? Yes. Yes, it is.
genocide against the Palestinian people. And we haven't had any media scrutiny of that whatsoever. And we need to know about that because a lot of the instability in the world, which people are very insecure about, comes a lot from that foreign adventurism.
Just on that, and obviously, and you know that the Israeli government will say it's not a genocide, so we won't go there, but yes, fine.
Jesus Christ. You don't do this with any other country. It's fucking embarrassing. The kid gloves we have to deal with fucking Israel with. Like, if you say the genocide that Russia's doing in Ukraine, no one goes, well, Vladimir Putin would deny that.
I mean, literally, it's open in terms of how British politicians deal with it as well. Like, I'm not going to comment on individual war crimes until after there's been a UN discussion. I'm like, but you didn't do that with Russia. You immediately called out the obvious war crimes for what they were.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You immediately called out the transportation of children out of Ukraine by Russia as genocidal. And yet, more explicitly genocidal statements have been made by people in the state of Israel. More genocidal actions have been taken, not just, the removal of children, but deliberate conditions created to ensure that births drop as well. On top of all of the people that they've killed, the starvation, etc., etc. And they go, well, I wouldn't like to judge. We'll let them judge for themselves. You let them mark their own fucking homework, are you, Mr. Lammy? Right? Imagine if we took that approach to the actual fucking criminal justice system.
Yeah. Because I'm sure Slobodan Milosevic didn't think he was a war criminal. In fact, he outright denied the claims that were made against him. So apparently, under David Lammy's thing, we just go, okay, fair enough then, let him go.
Well, the reality, of course, is that no one wants to claim that what Israel's doing is a genocide because they know that comes with international agreements that they have to abide by. They will be compelled to intervene to prevent it, should that be judged to be the case. And if they admit that it had happened and they did nothing and that's what it finds out later on, then they would have realised that they had failed in their duty towards the Genocide Convention and they should be removed from office and sent to the fucking Hague for failing to act, right? Like, when there was a genocide in Bosnia, did we wait until the hearings against Ratko Mladic and against Radovan Karadzic to intervene in that genocide? No, we intervened straight away. There were troops on the ground to try and defend Sarajevo.
True.
Much before any international trial adjudicated that it was a genocide.
True, but if we'd been waiting for the trial of Radovan Karadzic, that would have been like 25 years later.
Well, exactly. Well, that's why it's so stupid for them to say the same. That's why it's so dumb to say the same thing with Israel. Because I'm like, yeah, all the Palestinians will be dead, but at least you'll be going like, well, no, we didn't know at the time. Well, it was obvious, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Again, like they didn't need to then. They don't need to now.
Yep. Yep. Pardon me.
Also,
but the
worth
point
pointing out, by the way, was from the subject of Israel's genocide and the Serbian genocide of the Bosnians. Worth pointing out, the Serb Republic in Bosnia sent weapons by the fucking state of Israel during the genocide.
Yeah, to kill Muslims, because that's what that's what they do. Yeah.
Is this, Owen? Labour is at the moment losing votes on the right to reform, on the left to the Greens, right? And on the left to the Greens, partly it's because of a lot of foreign policy. Would you agree? And to the Gaza independence as well.
Well, I mean, by the way, the way you made it sound there is as though it's kind of both equally losing to the Greens and reform. That's
how do you see it?
Well, the statistics that show that they're losing about 4 times as many to the Green Party as they are to Reform. And, even in those seats...
And, again, it's worth bearing in mind that even the votes they are losing to Reform, they're never going to be able to win back. In theory, the people they're losing to the Green Party, they could win back by not being shit.
Well, they didn't even need to lose them in the first place.
But, yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah.
Like, not only are they shit, but I'm sure a lot of people would have stuck with them purely on the grounds of, well, there's nowhere else to go, If they'd just been bad in terms of policy, maybe people would have stuck around kind of begrudgingly to stop Reform, which like many people did do for decades and decades, right? But it wasn't just a poor policy prospectus that was offered to progressives. It was the deliberate desire to have us outed from the coalition.
Yeah.
They were shaking off the fleas, right? They were shutting the door on the hard left, putting us in a sealed tomb. And I'm like, well, first, we're not the hard left in lots of cases. Obviously, I am the hard left. I'm a communist, right? But most people were just like young millennials who liked social democracy and Corbyn's redistributive politics. That's basically all that they were. And they were treated as if they were the second coming of militant tendency. And They told us they were shaking off the fleas. They told the door was open that we could leave. And so that is really why people have left in the droves that they have done. Because if they had tried to win us over and say, look, I understand it's not what you wanted, but we've got to try and club together a big kind of coalition to beat reform, then many people would have stuck around. But instead they said, our coalition does not include you. And they realised that the you that it didn't include was, 15, 20% of the electorate, not the 3% that they thought it was at the time.
Yeah.
In the local elections where they lost to Reform, some of that was because some people voted for the Greens in smaller towns, and that allowed Reform to come through the middle. But if you look at across the country, I mean, in big urban areas, the Greens are replacing Labour as a political force. You can see that in London. You can see that in all places, in Hastings, where they won the council. So I think there's I think it's twofold. I think it's the economic model, which, because a lot of the...
And I'm sick of this argument from Labour people anyway about, the enabling reform by splitting the vote. It's not splitting the vote. You abandoned that vote. That vote is not yours. You said you didn't want it. The door was open, we could leave. So it's not splitting the vote at all. It's just voting for someone who doesn't think we're scum.
Yeah, literally. And again, I also hate this idea that Ali Mirage comes with the Gaza independence. Do you think these people only campaigned on singular foreign policy issues at local elections? Whilst, of course, it's perfectly reasonable to reject a political party for the moral failure of supporting a genocide, right? Like, that should be a red line regardless, right? If you're still involved with a party like the Labour Party after what they've done, like, what the fuck are you doing? And I would understand people who did that, but these local candidates, these independent candidates, also campaigned pretty vociferously on things like the NHS and on local areas and local communities. In fact, the NHS was a big pillar of what Leanne Mohammed was standing for in Ilford North. Jeremy Corbyn had a big prospectus when he was standing as an independent against a Prattle Nog in Islington North. So the idea that it's purely...
No, he just wanted to open concentration camps and kill everybody because he's literally fucking Hitler.
But even Ali Mirage here is saying... Or they're Gaza independence to try and essentially invoke the idea that it's sectarianism. And I'm just like, well, you're the one who brought up fucking Israel, right? You're the one who tried to talk about Israeli sectarian politics in this country. And I'm like, well, it turns out foreign policy is just a matter of moral conscience for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'd indict them.
People who going to the Greens are... I'm a geriatric millennial. I'm 41 years old. They're millennials and Gen Z. Millennials used to be a byword for youth, but the oldest now about 45. But these are people who...
Yeah, thanks for making me feel even older, Owen, you prick.
Who've gone through a housing crisis where property ownership has gone out of reach, where social housing has been flogged off, where they're in an unregulated private rented sector, where their work is often insecure, and their wages have stagnated. And they've seen a foreign policy which...
True, Layla. If literally Hitler was running, the Labour Party would still be smearing the Greens instead. True!
True!
They've been told by the grown-ups in the room that this is what we've got to stand in the United States. And they've seen...
And the media would be like, look, we know he wrote that Mein Kampf book, but have you seen the one tweet your candidate in Chipping Norton wrote? Who's the real anti-Semites here, yeah?
Over and over again, that's been a catastrophe. So it's both. I think it's the economic, it's the elites having been discredited on the economy and on foreign policy.
It's some of the stuff that you talked about in Chavs and the Establishment all those years ago. Your prescription has sort of come to pass. Milo, good to talk to you. Thank you. Ian in West Drayton. Ian, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ali. I'd just like to ask Owen, I think we've touched on it a bit about the message and the messenger in that Tony Blair is compromised. But it's setting aside the foreign adventure disasters of the Blair years. I think the trouble with Blair is he's now very much a spokesman for the billionaire and millionaire classes. He has a vast property portfolio.
He always was.
I think this is the problem. We were watching Marina Perkis on stream the other day, and she was like, "Well, he's so different to what he was 30 years ago." And I'm just like, "He's not. He's not different. He may have gone more to the right. I think his political kind of prescriptions may have changed, but in terms of him acting in the interests of the super rich, that's always been the case." There's a really great clip from Peter Oborn on Charlie Brooker's Newswipe talking about the changing nature of political conventions and political conferences in this country, especially among the Labour and the Conservative Party, especially the Labour Party, where it used to be a place where the trade unions and the members came together to set policy. Under the Blair and Brown years, it just morphed into a fucking corporate dick juggling competition. They would just fondle. They would treat it as a place with which that they could entertain business and corporate invitees with a look towards trying to garner investment or relationships with the government. It was a really kind of sleazy affair, which should be, again, about setting policy. And it was only until Jeremy Corbyn came in 2015 that all went back to being about what the Labour Party should be standing for.
Yeah, exactly, because then they became the Nuremberg rallies. Yeah, just reams of social democrats walking past with torches. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like given the level to which that as we know, the foremost Nazis in our society are transgender people. It stands to reason that the leader of the Nazi Party in 2015, in 2017, did his big rally.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Literally.
I'm still convinced that Blair is a WWE heel here.
His think tank is one of the most best funded, certainly in Britain, if not in Europe. You know, it's very much on that American model. And he's probably the richest ex-prime minister post his position.
Well, no, because literally the richest prime minister ever is still as rich as he was. So that would be Rishi Sunak, who's far richer than Tony Blair. Yeah. Now, if you mean the person who has enriched themselves more post-prime ministership, that might be true, I guess.
Oh, for sure. Like, Rishi Sunak did politics for fun, which is quite funny, right? So rich, he was like, I reckon I'd be good at politics. Let's do that. That's how most Tories get into it. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
Since perhaps a Duke of Devonshire in the 18th century.
So I think... Yeah, but that doesn't mean what he's saying is necessarily not...
No, but it undermines it, Ali, because if Bernie Madoff could give you the best financial advice in the world, you'd be suspicious to take it because it's Bernie Madoff giving it to you.
Okay, just on that, Ian.
What you're saying is completely spot on. Look, I mean, the Tony Blair Institute has received millions of pounds from brutal, murderous dictators, like the Saudi regime. After Khashoggi was chopped to pieces in the...
How the fuck have you pronounced it like that? Khashoggi? What?
So does he say? I thought he said Khashoggi.
Did he?
Like a K sound.
Yeah.
Regime. After Khashoggi was...
Khashoggi?
Khashoggi.
He's managed to put a Z in there somehow. Okay. I think you mean Jamal Khashoggi. It would be the man you're referring to.
Chopped to pieces.
I mean, I would say you butchered that, but the Saudis did it first.
Hey!
In the embassy, the Saudi embassy in Turkey, he continued.
Jamal Khashoggi, the
Saudi dissident journalist who was murdered by the Saudi regime. But you know, this is a Saudi dictatorship.
And then literally melted like fucking Walter White in Breaking Bad. Like literally put the motherfucker in a barrel and melt him. It's insane.
I mean, style points.
I mean, honestly, it's a flex. Usually they just like, oh, he fell out of a window. Boring. I want to melt a cunt. Like, you know.
Which beheads people, which brutalizes people who are gay, which slaughtered people in Yemen, and he received millions again from Kazakhstan. I mean, these awful regimes. More to the point, and I think this is what was your name again? Ian. Spot on. Look, AI. We didn't even mention artificial intelligence. It was
that's one of the big things he talks about.
One of the big things he talks about, and you know, he's received, and I've got the figures here from Larry Ellison. This is the founder of Oracle, at the absolute epicenter of artificial intelligence. He's received $130 million in the Tony Blair Institute between 2020...
And I'm sure there's no return on investment of that, because what they love to do is just give away $130 million for nothing. It's fine.
Yeah, capitalists are famous for giving away money without expecting any returns whatsoever, especially given the fact that AI literally cannot survive and is making no money in the private market, so relies on government contracts.
Yeah, you could say they're kind of massive welfare queens, maybe?
Quite so. Also, it could be, maybe, right, I'm just going to put that out there, chat, maybe he's spending all this money, not necessarily because he wants a return, but as a massive fucking Zionist, and as somebody who is literally totally intertwined with the Trump administration, he sees this as money well spent to ensure that the West continues to stay tied to Israel.
Now, when you say a massive Zionist, you mean his support for Israel is massive, not that he's like a 20-foot tall Zionist.
maybe that's true. Maybe that's what AI can do. You know, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, like,
Zionist Gojira. Let's go.
Oh my fucking god, that would be just a very, very terrifying. But yeah, like,
well,
maybe
ironically, what is the IDF but a massive Godzilla destroying the West Bank and Gaza right now, just smashing buildings down?
Yeah, literally.
Well, whilst the world goes, look, Godzilla has a right to defend himself. Please, what are you doing?
Because it is worth pointing out, there are some millionaires and billionaires out there who are spending their money not because they want a return on investment, because they're so ideologically committed to things that they're desperate and will incinerate millions and millions of pounds to get it through to the electorate, right? Like Paul Marshall is a good one of this. He continually loses money on Spectator, I think he owns the Telegraph now, and obviously GB News. He's thrown so much money into the fucking mincing machine because he genuinely believes this stuff. Elon Musk spending all of this money on Twitter because he wanted to turn into a Nazi hellscape because he wants to save the West. Maybe Larry Ellison is doing this too. But I think he's probably a bit more of a canny operator, and he understands the government contractors where the AI money is. And he probably does actually like the fact that it would also tie the West to Israel and Trumpism and Western chauvinism.
Yeah, no, it's a multifaceted approach, definitely.
One in 2023, and then another $218 million pledged in. Said you can't then.
I'm being told Godzilla is female. Apologies. I didn't know that. I don't fucking know. Defend herself, then. Although that would be appropriate, because they usually say Israel has a right to defend herself.
True. How dare you misgender the state of Israel, Kevin?
Yeah, apologies.
And say, if he's calling for, artificial intelligence being at the centre of everything, you can't then divorce that from the vast sums he's getting.
I understand that point. I do understand it, but he's saying, look, and you would say that he would say this, I'm not in hock to the tech bros. I've been bought off by the tech bros, right?
That's what he's bankrolled by them.
Fine. But he's also saying, and he said earlier this week, there are two epochal challenges happening in the world today. One is geopolitical, the other technological. Now, on AI, whether you agree with them or not, because...
Yeah, and you're on the wrong side of both, Toner. Like, your takes on both of those are shit.
Who he's funding him. It is going to be a massive, massive impact on jobs, the economy, and reimagining everything we do.
You're right, but look, again, this shows how he won't learn from his own mistakes, because what he would talk about in the noughties is how...
Okay, chat. I don't give a fuck about the gender of Godzilla. I don't care. I'm sorry, it doesn't... you're all... You know what? Nerds. All of you.
Globalisation is just a fact of life. It's like complaining about the weather, suck it up. And the problem with that is huge numbers of people got angry about it, and it's now fallen apart. Essentially, it's falling apart all around us. With AI, no one's saying that AI should be, well, very few, should be stopped or rolled back or anything like that.
I am saying that.
Yeah, I was saying that.
I was saying boo earns.
I mean, like, what's frustrating, right, is I've seen some reasonable use cases for AI in some ways, but the dangers that it represents and the level to which that it's just been adopted by the most fucking monstrous people.
Yeah.
Nothing, I mean, it shouldn't make me as angry as it does, but the fact that basically every fucking troglodyte, artless fucking mouth-breathing caveman, right-wing bellend with the IQ of a gnat, just like all they do is post like AI slop and think that it's the most hilarious thing in the world, and that grates me so much, and that's enough. That's enough for me to shut this whole fucking thing down.
Well, it's not just the dickheads online, but like the people behind all of it. It's Larry Ellison, it's Elon Musk, it's fucking Palantir, it's Oracle, it's all of the just the worst people and worst companies on earth. Now, I've said this before, there probably are marginal benefits to be had in terms of sifting through data and so on and so forth, but the comparison I draw is between that and nuclear weaponry. There are subsidiary positives to the existence of our understanding of that process, like the microwave or nuclear power, which are good things, broadly speaking. But if I could click my fingers and eradicate all of that, including nuclear weapons, I'd happily do so, because I think they're so deleterious to the world, and to international relations and power dynamics and all of that shit. I'd happily do so in a heartbeat. And the same is true with AI. There may be good side effects to it, but the fact that it's bringing us so disgustingly close to the dystopia that Mark Zuckerberg wants to create means I would, if I could just click my fingers and make it disappear, I would happily do so. So I am saying get rid of it.
That the question with technological development, is it in whose interests? Is it is it rolled out?
Okay.
And the problem at the moment is it's in the hands of tech pros who do not have the interests of ordinary people at heart. And we need to have regulation to make sure that artificial intelligence benefits people rather than causing huge problems.
Pause.
Ian.
Really important caveat. I actually think that Owen is not wrong necessarily, but I think he's putting the cart before the horse here. Whilst I do agree with him that the people who are in control of AI at the moment are actually just like monsters, like they're genuinely psychotic individuals. You look at Peter Thiel and Larry Ellison and people like that, right? But I don't think that they're
fucking
necessarily...
Mosley, the prick.
Well, yeah, literally. But I don't think that's necessarily why it's such a problem. It's certainly a problem. It's not the problem. The problem is, of course, is that even if you put benevolent people, or not even benevolent, but like less evil people in these roles, it's the mechanics of capital ownership of these technologies that is the problem. Whilst Larry Ellison is a cunt, like that doesn't take away from the fact that if you put somebody who was far more ethical in that position, the mechanics of capital ownership means that all the productivity gains, right, all the jobs that would get subsumed by AI, therefore making society more productive, and the people who owned that kind of means of extra productivity would get fabulously wealthy. It's that model of ownership that means that let me start that again. It's the people who own the technology who see all the gains of that productivity, who get fabulously wealthy out of this, right? And so, whilst I don't have a problem in increasing productivity, in fact, glad that productivity is going up. That's how wealth is created. The problem is that if it's owned by a single company or a single entity, or broadly the shareholders of Palantir, then that's going to funnel wealth away from ordinary people and subsumed ever tighter into the hands of capital owners.
And of course, it's even in your hypothetical situation where you're able to put in more ethical people, that power structure and those economic incentives would mean that evil pricks, just as evil, if not worse, than Peter Thiel, would just rise through the system and become those positions again. Because
all the people who
it's to put the cart before the horse to imagine that these people have created evil systems. It's the evil system that allows the evil people to flourish.
Or indeed that somebody could get into that for purely altruistic and benevolent reasons and would become corrupted by it, because that's the incentive structure.
Yeah.
And so actually, like, this is why it's why I supported. Going back, I would support Harold Wilson's like white heat of technology, because it was about productivity and the wealth of society, but it's in the hands of the people. He was a socialist. He believed in the white heat of technology being used collectively by the state to make us all more prosperous, which is how I believe that we could do with the productivity gains from something like AI. But literally no one at all is proposing this, at least not in a way that it would actually become powerful. So in the absence of that, I'm going to have to say no. And
exactly,
as Bannerstein would say.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. And of course, it's even worse than just not trying to funnel it in the right direction. It's that politicians have fundamentally accepted this technology will impoverish people, it will get rid of loads of jobs, and that's just a thing that's fine. They've just gone, yeah, that's just going to happen, fuck it. And gone full steam ahead with it, regardless of the damage it's going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think Owen's making very valid points. And again, I studied history, as I think Owen did. And you look back at when you first, gas supplies, municipal socialism of Joe Chamberlain in Birmingham. It wasn't just passing it out to a private company. That was done in the nature of the business. And it's the same with other things.
Back when conservative politicians actually gave something of a shit. Yeah, that
literally. I mean, again, like, Harold McMillan would be expelled from the Labour Party for being a Trotskyist in 2026.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
A car manufacturer came in. We just didn't say, there's Ford. We don't need to have our own car industry. And I think, to be fair to Blair, I think that a lot of our political class is totally compromised. It's not a party politics. George Osborne, I believe, works for ChatGPT. There's too many people talking up their own book.
Nick Clegg, Facebook.
Yeah, of course he works for ChatGPT. Like, he's thought, I haven't done enough damage to this country. What can I do?
This is after being editor of the Evening Standard.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy the level to which they're just the same people just continually get jobs for the boys in every sector of controlling society. Like people get mad when people in the UK turn populist. I'm just like, have you not seen the level of fucking class stratification in this country? I'm surprised we didn't have a fucking revolution in the last 100 fucking years.
Well, my friend Gil has some thoughts about Gideon that we won't go into.
And this is what undermines politics. You know, Blair can't go there and present himself. And it has got worse. Owen very rightly mentioned Harold Wilson. And so when Harold Wilson died, he died in relative poverty. You know, he had to go to shuffle in the house when he had Alzheimer's to pay the bills. And another thing, the difference between Harold Wilson and Tony Blair, despite all the pressures on him, he didn't get us involved in Vietnam. There aren't Vietnam vets in Britain suffering post-traumatic disorder like there was in America. Whereas Blair would have been there sending the Brigade of Guards in.
Well, I think on foreign policy, I agree with you.
That is true. He probably was the last British Prime Minister to actually stand up to the Americans in any way whatsoever.
It's true. It was crazy looking at the 70s, right? Not only did Harold Wilson stand up in terms of 60s and 70s, stand up on Vietnam, right? Ted Heath stood up on fucking Israel.
Yeah.
Like, Ted Heath refused to allow shipments of arms to go from Israel or from America to Israel during the Yom Kippur War. Not that we didn't get fucked over by the Arab boycott anyway, thanks Israel. Yeah. But yeah, like, we remained neutral. You can imagine if such a thing happened now.
Yeah.
Like, it would be Ted Heath would be like dragged through the streets. He would be sent through the streets naked, like that woman in Game of Thrones, with people flinging shit at him for having the gall to say, actually, no, we're not going to have arms be sent to Israel to use to murder people in the Middle East.
There would be an emergency Cobra meeting about the rise of anti-Semitism.
Literally.
Yeah. You know who did join the war in Vietnam, though? Australia. Al! Losers! Losers!
To be fair, they're so cucked they're so cucked in Australia that they literally have like CIA listening bases to spy on China, and they allowed fucking the CIA to depose their prime minister.
Literally happened. Yeah, you should look into that, chat. For daring to question how many CIA agents were in Australia.
Literally, it's crazy.
Oof. You and Owen, to be honest, that it is difficult to take lessons from Tony Blair on foreign policy given the history, but look, he's entitled to his view. And on the AI thing, I fully understand exactly what people will say about the fact that he's in hot to the tech bros because of who he gets financing from and all the rest of it. I do think we do need to have a proper, deep conversation about...
Oh, and the reason that I remember I first learned that Australia were in the Vietnam War was, do you know Peter Tatchell was originally Australian?
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah, and he came to Britain to avoid the draft in Vietnam.
Well, fair enough. Shame he didn't stay that based forever.
Yeah, he has gone a bit mental. But...
To be fair, he's cringe. Like, I don't necessarily think that he's always got his heart in the right place. He's just a bit cringe.
Yeah. Also, it was cool that he did those citizens' arrests on Mugabe. That was based. That was because that's how you get shot. That's how you get shot, and they're like, "Well, you were sort of like lunging for a world leader." The fact that his security fucking murked you, like, come on. Anyway.
The economic and social implications of the AI revolution, which none of us can actually control.
But you're right, but it shouldn't be led by people who are literally funded and linked to AI. And the problem we've got at the moment is we've got AI is a vast, huge industry. They're very well resourced, and they will make their case in a way that those who are critical don't have the same position and platform. Look, my mum is...
Okay, I didn't want to do this, and you don't have to comment on this. But I did watch yesterday on stream Michael Walker say that the Question Time episode was good, actually.
Yeah, I was not convinced.
Yeah, you don't have to comment. It's fine. I'll just say it was... Yeah, that's...
again, bad. The biggest problem, obviously, of course, with the makeup of the panel, but the biggest problem was that the two biggest issues with AI, which were intellectual property and the environment, not discussed once.
But they did said, should we have to run from robots? Or whatever the fuck that last question was. Like, fuck
should we be
off.
worried about Skynet?
Yeah. Oh, God. Is iRobot literally going to happen?
He's an AI academic, now retired. So look, I understand artificial intelligence has its, it's not something that's going to disappear or vanish, but it has to be managed and regulated, and that's not what Tony Blair's arguing
Understood. Is Blairism or Burnhamism the right path for the country? Ali Mirage on LBC in conversation with Owen Jones. It's 12:34. Is Blairism or Burnhamism the right path for the country? That is the big conversation that we need to have. And I'm glad that Tony Blair started it, because we need a serious debate around policy direction, not just a tinkering around with personalities at the top of the Labour Party, if we are to make any progress. Your thoughts? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. This is being live streamed on YouTube and Global Player. Get involved, please. Joy in Streatham, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ali, and good afternoon, Owen.
Hey, Joy.
Owen. Hi. I happen to be one of those people who absolutely love a lot of voice.
I ain't got no with it. Bit spicy, this one. Little bit. I'm feeling some like vibes here.
Fag hag vibes.
You say?
You said it. I didn't say it.
I have the pass.
You do.
I have the pass.
You do.
There's one or two of you. That's my lot.
You are welcome, especially on the internet. Now, Tony Blair, please let me say what I need to say. Tony Blair is nothing but a scum of the earth, and I'm
based and correct. I'm going to press the applause button. There we go. Correct. She is correct. That is what he is.
Speaking as someone who voted when he got into power 3 times, I'm one of those voters who encouraged my whole community, because I used to run a TRA, encouraged my son's generation, his friends. When I say I would approach people on the street, have you voted? Make sure you vote. I'm one of those people who egged it on. So Tony Blair, when you think about it, I'm glad Owen made that point. What he says in terms of this piece, I agree with a lot of what he said. But the fact that this man still has not apologized for taking us to war, we're still suffering the consequences, wants us, thinks we should have gone into Iran and attacked Iran. He's part of the board of peace, which is not board of peace, it's board of war. So could you tell me what has he done so far that actually shows that he cares about us and our country?
Joy, just on this point, are you...
You know what? 10 out of 10, no notes.
Literally.
Perfect, yeah.
Are you saying that because of his debacle in Iraq, and I agree with you on that anything else he says is rendered redundant? And
well, in terms of foreign policy, yes. Yeah.
I mean, probably in terms of domestic policies.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like, I wouldn't go, like, if he said something about transport policy, I wouldn't go, yeah, but Fallujah. Like, it would be a bit weird.
No, I just go like, yeah, National Rail.
Yeah, look, all the way through reading his article, I was just like, I mean, you know, maybe he's got half a point there, but also he should be at the Hague. Sure. Like, he should be at the fucking Hague, you know? But anyway, yeah, look, we can already see that the Iran war is a debacle, because they thought, well, if we just kill one guy, like, it'll be absolutely fine. It'll be fine, and then we'll just, like, the Iranian people will overthrow them and become super uber capitalists and friendly to us overnight. And then when that didn't happen, they had no plan.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
No, that's it. That was it. They went, oh, if we just kill the Ayatollah, then everything will be fine. Thinking, what, they don't have a successor? They don't have a line of people, which again was so mental. Given that at the American inauguration, they have a designated survivor, a person they fly to the other end of the country to make sure, even if there's like a nuclear strike at Washington DC and all of the government are ruined, there is a president in waiting that can we have a continuation of government. And they didn't think that the Iranians might have considered the same eventuality. Racism is a hell of a drug, you know?
Yeah, like the Western chauvinism is so strong that they just think that every country in the Middle East is just like, again, they probably unironically call them, like, in their internal cabinet discussion, sand N-words, probably how they describe them. I can imagine that being how the Trump administration could describe them. And that's their 100%. Opinion of the Middle East, you know, backwards, you know, sub-people, rather than, you know, industrialized societies.
Now, when you say sub people, you don't mean that as opposed to dumb people. That's a different thing. I mean, some of them probably are, but it's maybe some of them are switch people.
I mean, there's probably there's more of an Emirati thing. What I've been made aware of.
True. Yes. Thank you to who was that? Holland Cube with memberships. Thank you. Don't forget you can give us both money in the form of bits and subs and memberships and blah blah blah, all that shit.
Please leave money. Thank you.
Yes.
Irrelevant because of that. Do you think so? Yes or no, Joy?
Yes, because it makes no sense. He's contradicting his own comments. When he says we should be at war with Iran, how would we benefit from a lot of what he's saying?
Understood.
But also, I don't think we should look at Iraq as, oh, whoops, silly old me. We've all got our foibles. Who hasn't accidentally, illegally
he's never going to
invaded a country?
He's never going to admit it, Owen, is he? He's never going to admit that the fact that
Well, he could. He could do that. Like, yeah, he's never going to, but I mean, I don't care. He should still be at the Hague. Murderers will die in prison, never admitting their crime. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't have gone to prison and died in prison, which is what should happen to Tony Blair too. Or just set him free on the streets of Iraq and let nature take its course. Whatever.
He basically was in hot with George W. Bush, and he was shoulder to shoulder, and he would say, "Look, I did it in the best interest. It didn't work out, the way I wanted it."
We should admit what
Tony Blair. I know what would happen if that happened. By the way, he would just thumb point at people and go, "I see that you're building a wicker man, and I firmly disagree with that. It's destabilising. Have you thought about AI as a solution to your problems?" And then they'd kill him.
What he did. If he will never admit what he did because he's the criminal at the crime scene. Okay, as Kofi Annan, the then UN General Secretary, pointed out, it was an illegal war because it violated the UN Charter. It was a criminal act. It's not an act. You can look at some policies that are...
And people forget this, by the way. Like with the Nuremberg trials of the major war criminals, most of them weren't convicted of genocide. Most of them were convicted for making aggressive war. Was the phrasing of one of the 4 indictments, because they all had their fucking fingerprints all over it. There were no one signed a document saying do the Holocaust, so it was a lot more difficult to pin exact blame for exact actions on people. Whereas there were literally orders from every one of these bastards saying move troops to this area, invade this place, burn this place down, bomb this location, etc. And people, I think, need to have that reinforced in their minds that the making of hostile and aggressive warfare is illegal and should end with you in The Hague.
A government introduces and say, well, look, that didn't work out, that was bad, whatever, that's politics. I don't think invading a country... I went to Baghdad a few months ago, and people came up to me, and when they found out I was British, said, you destroyed this country. And I saw all over the streets the faces of young men who'd been blown apart in that war over 20 years. That country, the sectarian bloodbath that the coalition occupation unfortunately helped unleash, but the slaughter that people endured and the breakdown of society.
Which never stopped, because ISIS took over part of it as well. And there's been an internecine fucking ethnic battle ever since. Because, whatever you think of Saddam Hussein, and he was a fucking monster for what it's worth, he did hold that country together.
I mean...
A country that really probably shouldn't exist, I suppose, in a very literal sense, but it kept sort of peace. And it might just be the better the devil you know is the best you can do.
Yeah. I think the Iraqi Kurds probably would take some...
No, I get that. I absolutely get that. I get that, absolutely. But in lieu of an independent Kurdish state, which isn't going to happen, and the Kurds, by the way, are in a very unfortunate situation of not wanting independence from one nation, but from 5. Because there are lands claimed in Turkey and Syria and Iraq and all sorts of fucking places, which they're never going to get. At least if you want independence from one country, that's feasible. Whereas you're never going to get those countries to all agree. So there's a problem with that. But like I say, as much as that might not be the ideal situation for the Kurds, I can't imagine ISIS taking over Kurdistan was better for them.
Well, 100%. I mean, just in general, I think that there have been some kind of strongmen leaders who have taken very kind of principled stance against nationalism and have been pretty brutal.
Yeah.
In putting down nationalist sentiment to ensure the continuation of the state, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But my point is, I mean, it's sort of a horrible realpolitik point, I guess. But sometimes better the devil you know is the best you can do.
I mean, I'm a Tito supporter. Like, if he didn't put down nationalists, like, he's not Tito, is he?
True.
I mean, we saw the result of what happens when you don't put down nationalists in Yugoslavia. Look what they fucking did.
Yeah, it didn't end well. Did not end well.
That's not something you say, well, you know, we all make mistakes. It was a crime. And you say, well, you know, does that mean everything else is null and void? Yes, actually, if I'm honest. I think if you look at other foreign leaders, if they, you know, if it wasn't a Western state, they invaded a country illegally, like Vladimir Putin, you don't go, well, you know, he did a bad thing there, but let's look at the good things he's done.
It's an interesting point. Joy, thank you for picking.
Really, really important corollary here is that they did support Putin.
Yeah.
Just only when it was Chechnya.
Yep.
Like, they wrung their hands that it wasn't it terrible, right? But in reality, they were all doing deals with him whilst he was burning Grozny to the ground.
Yeah.
But Blair himself was saying, forget Ukraine, forget Chechnya, let's ally with Putin to take down Islam.
Yeah. And not just that, but people forget the kind of things that he did do when it suited him. People forget that he wrote that letter to Gaddafi, which literally started with the phrase, Dear Muammar. Like,
yeah, exactly.
This man is... there was not a mass murdering, torturing, fucking disgraceful, genocidal, terrorist-enabling piece of shit in the world he wasn't friends with when he thought he could make money out of it.
Yep.
Literally, you know, when the oligarchs were absolutely ripping Russia to pieces in the wake of... Well, I mean, they were doing it under Yeltsin as well, of course, but especially after Yeltsin, that's it. It's like he was fine with that. Absolutely fine with that. It wasn't until it became a geostrategic problem because he was like, the European Union started butting up against his territorial lands that it became an issue.
Picking up the phone and making it. Roland in Chelsea. Roland, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm fed up listening to Red Owen and how he and his type...
Red Owen? Yeah, Roland in Chelsea has a problem with you, Red Owen.
Fucking Roland.
He's literally called Roland from Chelsea, yeah. So, like,
incredible.
Honestly, come the revolution, Roland, I need to have a word with you, lad.
is just pulling this country down into the gutter. I've just come back from the US today, where I attended a conference of young school kids, over 6,000 schools in America, put forward children to come up with ideas to build businesses and make money. And in this
See, this is the kind of person, is the reason why I want Lord's cricket ground to be bombed into rubble.
No, collectivized.
Turned into the world's biggest spoons.
Country, the politics of envy and the people like Owen who spit out this inaccurate trash is making me
Which
sick.
inaccurate trash,
And I'm
Roland?
fed up with LBC giving a platform to people like this.
But Roland, just...
Oh no, you have people on I disagree with.
How dare they have someone like Red Owen who puts down with the politics of envy those who've made money? I despise him. How dare LBC give him a platform?
He's very haberdasher-asks pilled.
He so is. He's like that character in Family Guy with like the big jaw.
Yeah,
Henry Bottomtooth.
Henry Bottomtooth, yeah. And the thing is, I've met people like that. They do exist.
No.
You know, it's those literally like it's a almost Habsburg jaw situation.
Really is, isn't it? Absolutely, literally. So again, it's funny. Like you don't really find like angry posh people that often, but they get angry. It sounds so fucking funny.
They are ridiculous, yeah.
Do people call me like I'm apparently the posh bird? I don't say anything like this motherfucker.
Oh no, exactly. Well, look, you got to bear in mind, right? I was speaking to the guy at the fucking outside the toilets at the Tilton end in St Andrews, right?
It's true.
Just
true.
me and him, two pieces of working class detritus, right? Look, I don't deny what I am. I know exactly what the fuck I am, right? I sound a bit fucking posher than I am, but that is what we are. So to us, you might as well be fucking. You might as well be the Queen of Sheba, you know, like that's the kind of level you're at. But yeah, but you're not actually posh. That person is posh. That person makes you sound like a chimney sweep. And
also,
you make me sound like a super chimney sweep.
I mean, onto the things that he was saying.
Yeah.
He said people were supposed to be given ideas to go and build businesses and make money. I'm like, no one's stopping you. No one is stopping you from doing that. There's nothing in the British Constitution that anyone on the left has inputted into our country at any point since 1945 that precludes you from doing so. We just want you to pay the workers whose surplus value you're going to be swilling in after you've made your money a decent fucking wage.
Yeah. See, I make every golf course into social housing. No, you don't need to do that. Firstly, you do need some countryside left. And a golf course is fine. Make them into municipal golf courses so everyone can fucking use them. And that would be a perfectly reasonable use of it. There are plenty of sites we can actually use to build things on. The anti-golf thing I get, but like for me, socialism isn't about taking away nice things. You can still have golf courses and housing. You don't need to have one or the other.
Yeah, well, literally, it's about redistributing the fucking champagne, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to tear. Like, I joke about Lord's cricket champagne bomb, but that's just because there are cunts in red and yellow striped fucking suit jackets who I would terms of service, right? But actually, what should happen is that it should be free to enter and go and watch a day's cricket at the fucking Lord's Cricket Ground. Is what should actually be the case.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be a fucking members area where posh cunts get to, like, dictate the world from. That's not how it works. Or not how it should work, anyway.
Just on one thing, and we'll come back in a second. Just on the platform point. Look, Owen's a man of the left. He's a considered, thoughtful man of the left. He's not a member of the Labour Party. He's got views on this. I've got views on this. We all do. And if we're going to make any progress, we need to have a robust conversation with each other. And I'm glad you've raised your point. Now, Roland.
I admire Roland's passion. I admire it greatly. I think
he's talking about wealth.
Stop being nice, Owen. He's a cunt. You can just say, well, you can't necessarily say that word on there, but you can say that, general point.
I mean, I'll just be like, well, I'm sure my response would literally be, I'm sure Roland from Chelsea certainly has his finger on the pulse of the nation.
Yeah.
Creation, which is a fair point.
I think the 2 points I'd make.
Or just be sarcastic and say, it does appear that he's rather envious of my platform.
So true, so true.
Is look, Thatcherism in the 1980s did privatisation, slashed taxes on the rich, smashed the trade unions, all of those things. And the point I would make, Roland, is economic growth ever since has been.
What do you mean, fuck golf, it's a fake sport? What sport is natural? There's no, like, it's when people go, it's a made up word. As opposed to what? Words from the word tree? No, they're all fucking made up. We just made up some rules and went, yeah, let's compete based upon these rules. That's all a sport is.
Lower than it was in the heyday of, the post-war settlement of nationalisation and high tax on the rich, and less equitably distributed. And the second point I'd make, Roland, is, look, you might not like my views. Look, lots of people don't. That's fine. That's, that's democracy and all the rest of it. But, you've got to accept, if you look at the polling, most people in this country do think that people should pay more taxes. They do support public ownership of utilities and services. I mean, you spoke as I'm running the country. Red Owen is bringing the country down. But the point is actually people like myself politically have been completely marginalised. I have no power or influence in this country whatsoever. We've had your...
No, chat, running is not real. The ability to run is real. Running against people set to a clock on a predetermined course is not natural. It's a fucking sport that people made rules up for. Dickheads.
your policies, the sort of policies you support, are the policies, in my view, that have led this country into low economic growth, stagnating living standards, low productivity, and all the other crises that we're not addressing.
I mean, can I just ask you this? On the tax point, right, and we've also got to bring in welfare spending here. I mean, if you tax people, and it will always fall on the middle class more, if you tax people, the tax burden's already 36%, right, one of the highest since the Second World War. I mean, how much more can you actually squeeze the cow?
Well, I mean, the tax burden is
a lot more.
Yeah, like there's two things that he just said that are just like that need contesting. First of all, the idea was always going to lay on the middle class more. No, it doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to.
Like,
yeah.
We've chosen to do it that way, but it doesn't have to. And second of all, this idea that somehow like, oh well, the taxes are really high, and how much more can you squeeze it? I'm just like, well, we're going to have to, because every single Western European country has every other Western European country has accepted the fact that taxes are going up because healthcare is getting more expensive, because populations are getting older, which also requires more pension provision. Every Western country is at its highest tax burden of all time, right? Like no Western country is reducing its taxes massively because they have suddenly found a magical solution for the aging population problem, you know? And it is a lie that our country has told ourselves that somehow we can be different. And in fact, we've undertaxed ourselves for far too long, whether it be privatization giving us a short-term like boom in finances that then gets drawn down over time as we lose revenue, whether it's PFIs putting actual government spending on a literal credit card, not in the same way that government debt is. Like PFI is real debt. It's real debt to private creditors that we have put ourselves in with PFIs to essentially get like the sugar rush of cash in the 2000s that then get paid down later by us, by our generation, to benefit people, you know, who were of their working age during the 2000s and during the 90s. And so that is going to be the reality. Unless we admit that we can't have Scandinavian public services without Scandinavian taxation, we'll continue to lie to ourselves about the reality of what our country faces.
Yeah. Oh my word. Okay, breaking news, everybody. Breaking news. Both Hassan Piker and Cenk Uygur have been banned from the UK.
How Cenk Uygur has been banned?
Yeah.
What?
Well, he says here, I've been banned from the UK. I tried to get on a flight to London to attend South by Southeast London and give a speech at Oxford. I've been banned for criticising Israel. Blah, 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 blah. So presumably, yeah, he was, not allowed. And then Hassan says the UK has revoked my visa as well. So they're both, they were both due to attend that event. And, so in hock to Israel are we that they're banning Cenk Uygur, who didn't even do 9/11, unlike Hassan Abi, who did.
I mean, literally, again, they're turning against their entire populations in defense of the Zionist entity. I mean, this is insane. This is legitimately insane that we're at this point. I mean, this was basically called for by David Taylor MP, member of Friends of Israel.
Yeah, a Labour MP called for this. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the CST and the ADL have said that they should be removed, right? And I'd be interested to hear what justification is, right? So, Cenk is saying that it's about criticizing Israel. A lot of the reporting in terms of the potential for their visas being revoked was on the grounds that they have either said things that they're anti-Semitic, which just hasn't happened, or that they have declared support for a terrorist group, which they haven't done either, right? The claim that they're using to justify banning Hassan's visa or revoking his visa was that when he said that Hamas was 1,000 times better than Israel and that he's a lesser evil voter, and therefore he would say that Hamas was better than Israel. And I'm just like, that doesn't mean that you support Hamas. It doesn't, right? Like, I think that the common cold is better than colorectal cancer. That doesn't mean that I'm having, like, bug chaser parties full of people with the sniffles, I don't support the common cold. But do I acknowledge that the genocide that Israel has carried out is significantly worse than anything that anyone from the Palestinian resistance has ever done ever in their entire history? Like, this is the reality. And again, it's so much for that basically white is right. It's what these governments believe.
Yeah.
Is the Western countries, Western ethnicities are overall superior to Eastern ones, and therefore you're not allowed to criticize them when they do things like genocide.
But remember, chat, it's illegal to say you support the Young Turks, because that would be terrorism. Because they're going to be a prescribed terrorist group soon, I'm sure.
Well, the thing is, as well, is that they use the justification that their presence would not be conducive to the public good. What's the justification?
Yeah, what is the justification? I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
They were there to do a fucking podcast recording. It's not like, for example, Valentina Gomez.
They'll still be able to do via via the internet. Yeah. So it won't be a problem in that respect. But the fact that we're banning these motherfuckers, and we're not banning any Israeli at all, including violent pro-rape football supporters, apparently. The government wants those in the country. Literally, that's the comparison. Literally, whenever an American mentions this, mention that the British government actively lobbied and sacked a member of the fucking police force for trying to stop pro-rape, violent, religious extremist Israeli football supporters from coming into the country.
They moved heaven on earth.
Yeah.
Heaven on earth? They moved heaven and earth to try and get these pro-rape hooligans, these kahanists, into our country to assault the good people of Birmingham, right? That's how incredible these statements that were made were. That the idea that not just they wouldn't be allowed in the country, right? Because no one was banning Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from getting a visa to come to the country. That wasn't a thing that was happening. It was just they weren't allowed to buy tickets.
Yeah.
There wasn't going to be a ticket allocation for Maccabi Tel Aviv fans to watch the football match. That's all that was, right? And the government, they absolutely threw a gigantic shit fit and essentially led to a member of the police force having to quit. And instead of the corollary here, which is that Hassan Piker and Cenk Uygur have criticised a foreign government's foreign policy. Another government's foreign policy is what's been criticised by these people. Not just any foreign policy, a fucking genocide. A genocide being done with our weapons and our diplomatic support and our military support via planes flying, doing spy flights for Israel from RAF Akrotiri, right? Just criticism of foreign policy. And they have been banned from coming to the UK. Now, it's worth pointing out, one of the responses that you'll get for this was that, well, you supported it when the government blocked the visa for Valentina Gomez to come to the Unite the Kingdom rally with Tommy Robinson. And I'm like, well, two things. First of all, neo-Nazism, which is basically the kind of politics that Valentina Gomez supports, is significantly different to just having criticism of a foreign government's policies or a foreign government's actions. And second of all, going to a rally where essentially a bunch of the speakers were there to agitate for the overthrow of the government in some cases. That's what Elon Musk threatened the last time he was broadcast on video link at a Tommy Robinson rally. She would be there specifically to rile up protesters. That's fomenting the potential for desire for insurrection is significantly different to someone going to record a podcast. These are not the same thing. They are not the same consequences in terms of how it would, quote unquote, be conducive to the public good. So don't come here and try and say, well, you support other visas being banned when they're totally different, incomparable situations.
Yeah. Britain is so fucking cucked to Israel, it's embarrassing. Absolutely fucking embarrassing.
Although at the very least, there's going to be a parliamentary debate over the influence of the Israeli lobby. Allowed speaker because a petition got over 100,000 signatures. So that should be an interesting one.
Well, it won't be. What it will be is like the 4 Gaza independent people, like making sensible points. And bizarrely, fucking Kit Malthouse, who's been on a bit of a tear as well, the Conservative MP who's speaking some truths, which is nice. And then everyone else going, you're an anti-Semite. To those people. That's it. That's all it'll be. I guarantee it. It won't be interesting. It will be another shit smear stain on British democracy.
Well, at the very least, you'll get some good social media clips of Ayub Khan and Jeremy Corbyn making very good points about the influence, especially internally within the Labour Party. I mean, the number of people who are member of Labour Friends of Israel, the fact that a former chair of Labour Friends of Israel is now the spokesperson for Benjamin Netanyahu, essentially playing fucking cover for Israel's genocide. That's how close the links are between the Labour Party and the state of Israel, right? Insofar as the Speaker of the House of Commons got fucking special tickets to go and fly to visit Israel with Zipi Hotovely, the Israeli ambassador, right? The current Prime Minister, during debates on ceasefire resolutions, in the House of Commons took phone calls from the Israeli fucking President Isaac Herzog.
What's the odds over under that debate causes Luke Akehurst to die of a heart attack?
I mean,
because he already looks like he's got the blood pressure that could pump jet fuel. So, like, I imagine it's a serious health concern for the man.
Yeah, he certainly looks like that's. I mean, apparently has a medical condition that causes him to be red, right? I think I brought this up in a Novara meeting discussing him. I'm going to call him a tomato. I'm like, no, he's got a condition, Helene.
I don't care. I don't care. He's a cunt. He's a big red fucking cunt. Okay, not red politically, you understand. He's very far from that.
Yeah, like, but in general, it's. I'm actually losing my mind here. I'm actually losing my goddamn mind.
Well, this is the ultimate end goal of a government that are right wing as fuck and authoritarian with it. Of course, they're going to ban people. Yeah, of course they are. Yeah.
And this is where we will end up. This is what they're rolling the pitch for. This is what all of the authoritarian removal of liberal norms and civil liberties is getting. This is where the Palestine Action prescription comes from. It's where treating people who try and prevent a genocide as terrorists, that's where that goes. It's arresting people for holding up signs. It's, even basic stuff in terms of the changing of the settlement by removing access to jury trials, by trying to shut down protests using conservative past legislation. They're rolling the pitch for Reform UK. They're rolling the pitch for Reform UK to do it even harder than the Labour Party are doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's odd that they're trying to fearmonger about the Reform Party when they're literally, like you say, preparing the ground for a fascist takeover. They're literally it's like they're setting it up perfectly for Farage to come in and his ilk and just take away what little rights remain from the British people.
Yep, exactly, 100%. And again, all at the behest of the State of Israel, right? Turning against their own citizens and their own constitutional settlement to protect a genocidal settler colonial apartheid state in the Middle East.
Yeah, a grotesque level of cockery. Embarrassing.
But again, it's worth pointing out as well that the root cause of all of this is America.
Yeah.
It's the United States that is the thing here, right? Like, we all talk about the influence of the Israeli lobby, and of course there is a huge influence. A lot of people in the UK are ideologically Zionist in a pro-Israel sense rather than a pro-Western sense, which I think is more the case in the United States, where a lot of Zionism is about Christian fundamentalism. But there's a lot of real ideological Zionists in the UK because of the link of the Balfour Declaration as well. But broadly, if we're looking at the power structures here, America is at the top, right? Both Israel and the UK are client states of the United States. Of course, the relationship is far more equal between Israel and the US rather than our relationship where we are basically a vassal state. We're totally cucked out to the US, right? Like when the UK ambassador went to the United States and said the special relationship is between Israel and the United States, he was correct. It's not a special relationship, it's an abusive relationship between the UK and the United States of America. But that's where the actual unipole is. Israel is powerful because it is a military outpost for the United States in the Middle East. And it's why people of all parties in this country defend it, because it's part of the Western alliance that's broadly there to be able to extract wealth from the global south, to be able to put it in the pockets of Europeans. That's the whole reason for it. And they will use, cynically, they will weaponize, cynically, the plight of Jewish people internationally that's happened for hundreds of years through the lens of Israel to defend that outpost in the Middle East, cynically, and it puts Jews in this country in danger.
Yeah.
Literally. And then that will create a feedback loop where they use that level of precarity of Jewish existence in this country to justify the authoritarian crackdowns that we're seeing at the moment on the grounds of the fact that, again, they have taught the country that Israel is not just any country, it's the Jewish country, and the things that it does are Jewish things, thereby meaning that people who wouldn't otherwise be anti-Semitic have been taught anti-Semitism by people linking the State of Israel to the international Jewish community, which is not true. That's not the thing. But it's, again, the very dangerous philo-Semitism that has been created by this material relationship between the imperial core and the colonial ethno-state.
But Keir Starmer has definitely learned the lesson of the local government and the regional, the Welsh and national, Welsh and Scottish national victories. He's definitely learned the lesson that we need bold, massive change in this country, and what we need is more authoritarian right-wing shit, and crushing of dissent is the thing he thinks needs to happen.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
That is,
Awesome.
that is the stability will be the change, Kevin.
And that is the change I will be.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kieran, with gifties there. Much love. Much love. Should we get back to... there's so much left of Owen Jones. I'm not sure I can be bothered. There's another 20 minutes? And we're only just over halfway through.
Should we get to the end of Roland, shall we?
Yeah, okay, let's do the end of Rowley. Old roly-poly in fucking Chelsea.
Quite certain. Yes, a shallow and pedantic.
The question of the tax bill is whose shoulders does it fall?
Yes.
And obviously taxes, if you look at corporation tax or income tax, then they have been massively slashed from where they were in the 1970s.
Ironically, Rowley might be one of the few people who does pronounce it pasta. Possibly.
The issue, you mentioned welfare spending, that as a share of the economy, it's not gone up in the last few years. It's going up in numbers, as you would expect.
Yes.
We have an ageing population. Most welfare spending goes on pensioners, as you would expect.
1,000 people signing on for PIP every day.
Well, I mean, we've got people who have been rejected from disability benefits, who have been, who have lost their arms and legs, who have terminal cancer, who have all sorts of very serious multiple sclerosis. People with very serious conditions aren't getting disability benefits in this country, as a matter of fact. But the issue is, if we want to reduce welfare spending in other ways, let's look at the fact that we flogged off council housing. 4 in 10 of those council homes are now rented out by private landlords.
I think it's a good point.
But then we're subsidising with housing.
You're a Tory. What the fuck do you mean you think that's a good point? You did that. Well, and Blair continued it, obviously. But, that's one of the cornerstone Thatcher policies. When you think of Thatcher, you think of privatisation. And you think of one of those things is the privatisation of public housing. The selling off of all the housing stock is one of the biggest fucking problems that she caused.
100%. And and doing counter ring fencing so that it can be reinvested back into new social housing, which is doubly indefensible. Not only did it remove access to future generations to access council housing and the communities that it created, but it created a glut of new wealth for the people who were there when it was sold off, which will only pass down individually within those families, but as a generation, most of them will probably sell it off to pay for adult social care anyway. So it's just a huge glut of wealth sold off on the cheap to one generation that will be frittered away.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair point.
But again,
we didn't replenish. We did not replenish.
In work benefits as well.
Okay.
We're not paying people proper wages. So we can reduce welfare spending if we sort out housing and wages.
Understood. Roland, very quick comment from you.
Yeah, all I want to say is that sort of monologue, that ramble,
all I want to say is that I actually really enjoyed fucking my sister. Because they're incestuous, all the family, all those rich bastards.
Young people sick to the stomach and absolutely turns them against any idea of starting a business. And I work with small companies, and I work with individuals. I mentor them. I work with them. And when they...
Has anyone got Kim Ledbetter's number? Because I feel like I need to pass it on to this man.
hear this stuff, they think this is not a country to try and do well in.
Well, I don't agree with that. I speak to young people. Red Owen. I like Red Owen, mate. Put that on my gravestone. But I don't think young people.
Honestly, the right wing are so great at coming up with actual leftist agitprop, but they think it's attacking the left. It's literally the front page of the New York Post all over again. With the Mamdani, with they just create the hardest shit, but they think it's attacking us. Put it on a t-shirt. Put it on a t-shirt, lads. I'll wear it. You want to with the fucking, what was the one we had on Turn Left? Someone said, "Oh, is this Turn Left or is it Turn Bent?" And I was like, "That's amazing! Put that on a fucking t-shirt now. I wanna say I happily appeared on Turn Bent. Fuck yes."
It looks like the pride flag with the hammer and sickle. Yeah. This goes so fucking hard.
Oh, it's amazing.
I speak to younger people all the time. The problem with younger people in this country at the moment is they can't get a secure home. They're often in 0-hour contract jobs.
Yes,
their wages are stagnating.
Okay,
Well,
Roland,
because you create the conditions of ending.
I understand.
I don't run the country, Roland. You're speaking as though I'm the Prime Minister.
Yes,
I don't have any
you
power.
ramble on. You love listening to your own voice.
I love
and
listening to
you
your
won't
voice as
listen
well.
to anybody else. You, won't you don't understand that this is a capitalist society.
This is a capitalist society and it could never change. It's always been capitalist. It's the history of the world.
Like, also worth pointing out, social democracy is a form of capitalism.
Yeah.
Like, no one on the left in this country has been advocating for literally anything other than social democracy for the past 80 years, right? It's been quite a long time since people actually thought that they were going to seize the means of production, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that hasn't really been a thing for a long time. But again, and as we talked about the other day, the CBI is a capitalist answer to the problem. Like it's not socialism. That's capitalism saving itself.
I mean, that's the biggest leftist critique of social democracy,
Yeah.
is that it is a sticking plaster on the gaping wound of capitalism. It is a way in which, first of all, of maintaining the system of capitalism whilst removing the revolutionary potential of the proletariat, whilst also, especially in the global north, using the labor of the global south essentially as a buffer stock to be able to maintain that system, right? Like, that's always been the leftist critique of social democracy.
Yeah.
Society, not a red society.
Okay, Roland. Well,
it's not a red society. You're right. I rest my case.
I mean, it's an interesting capitalist society when so much is also being spent on welfare. I mean, some people.
Welfare is not anti-capital. The fucking founder of the welfare state in this country was Lord Beveridge, a liberal capitalist. Was the guy who produced the Beveridge Report that gave us the welfare state that we have today. Capitalist societies across the world have welfare states. Capitalist societies with significantly more generous welfare states than ours.
Are you questioning the political analysis of this old haberdasher?
I must say, I think that the political economy, education, that Haberdasher Asks Boys School and the London School of Economics clearly are wanting. This guy thinks, A, that we have a significantly high welfare spend. We don't. We have a much more punitive and less generous welfare state than most other Western European countries. We spend less as a percentage of GDP on working age benefits than most other European countries, even the poorer ones.
Yep.
And on top of that, we have a worse state pension too. It's just, it's living in a dream world.
And also for Americans watching, yes, he was called Lord Beveridge. We are a very normal country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll say that's a funny model of neoliberalism, including Tony Blair. Roland, thank you. Jane in Bishop's...
No, fuck off Jane in Bishop Stortford. I don't care.
It is worth pointing out. It's worth pointing out that it is neoliberalism. Actually, a large welfare state, or having a welfare state that works in this manner is neoliberalism, right?
Yeah.
Insofar as it's necessary, because neoliberalism doesn't create full employment.
Yeah, literally, like that's the really cruel aspect of the kind of Gideonization of British politics, if you will, is that to enforce neoliberalism is to say that it is acceptable to have a massive proportion of your population not in work, and then punish them for not being in work in a system that you created specifically to make sure they weren't in work.
Yeah.
You're punishing them twice over for things that you did. It's evil. It's genuinely evil. Anyway, it is also past. What hour is that? 11, I think. And I want to go to bed. I'm tired. You can carry on if you want to.
We covered the Hassan bike stuff now, so it means I can actually do 2 segments. I can do Owen Jones debating Roland for the main channel. I can put the Hassan Pike stuff on my second USA-based channel.
Have you got a second channel? I didn't know this.
I have 3 channels now.
Oh, good lord!
I have two channels for my UK stuff, and I have a USA channel as well. I was never intending to do like USA-based content on stream, but I guess that this is kind of USA and UK stuff, the Hassan Pike one. So it just happened to happen on stream. But I wanted to do basically I wanted to get in on the Trump slop.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Because it's so people watch Trump slop forever. Although I did want to try and talk about Senate races and Abdel Saeed and Mamdani and stuff like that. But Americans love the slop content, and they love slop content in a British accent as well.
Literally, yes. That's where the posh bird stuff comes in handy, I think.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But then again, guess I should start pronouncing it Perster. Like Lloyd Grossman.
Yeah, exactly. Which ironically is like no one talks like that. It's because he's American trying to sound like a posh Englishman.
Literally, yeah. Again, I'm not gonna get into the debate again. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna go. Like, it's already given me enough grief tonight and today.
Sure.
So anyway, I can go follow KF Logo 175 over on Twitch. Do it. It's an order.
Everyone go and follow No Justice MTG on all of her millions of fucking channels. Yes. Is there anyone going on Twitch at Jimmy Snow is probably the best, I think.
It's been a while since I've heard that name.
Yeah. They're debating MAGA or something. I don't know. Anyway, so if you want some American slop, there you go.
Yank.
Yeah. Yank rubbish. Actually, I don't know. They could be very good. Okay, I'll send you over to Cosmopolitics.
Oh, he's also going on YouTube as well.
No, that's what I'm talking about on YouTube. On YouTube, because whatever. I'm on. I'll go Cosmopolitics on the Twitch.
Oh, sorry. I should do my super chat actually. Thank you, at Rachel Atwood for the $2. Would you interview US political candidates? I would. Grant Stone says £5. Israel is powerful thanks to Rob Maxwell and Shalane and Jeff. Absolutely. And thank you, Captain Coconut, for the £5. Says I should set up Ko-fi for donations. I probably should. But you can also do Patreon if you wanted to go through there as well. They also take a small cut. So thank you for the super chats. I appreciate it, everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Apparently they're not. They just finished. So. Oh God, who do I go to? Liv Agar, covering Trump's 250th WWE McDonald something or other. I don't know. Go and say hello. Yank slop. At this time of day, it's going to be Yank slop. It's fucking midday there or whatever.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, not midday as in 12. I mean, look, it's the middle of their day. You know. Yes. We've already done all that shot, haven't we? So yeah.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine and that.